Welcome to the Warhammer Skull Session. I am Rob, your host, joined by my dear friend and awesome co-host, Mason. What's going on, Mason?
Not much, Rob. Just doing what I'm always doing, working on hobby stuff.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm right there with you. Today, we're going to talk about two idiots' guide to starting 40K. So if you're totally new to starting 40K, this might help you.
This might help you, but don't blame us if it doesn't.
Right? We're just gonna have some fun. All right. So before we get into the main topic, let's start up with our hobby progress. What's on your bench there, Mason?
So I got this Celestant Prime done.
Ooh, sexy.
Yep, he was a fun little pain in the ass to do. I don't like the whole spiral things, and they were an annoying thing to paint, and they get in the way. But he's done, or nearly done, just waiting on his base to arrive, and then he'll be done. And right now, because our gaming group has been talking about doing Necromunda, I have started building my Enforcers.
Oh, cool.
A buddy of mine, we split the whatever the box set that came out for Necromunda. He got two of them, and I took the two Enforcer halves. He took the two Blood Butcher Cult halves, and so finally starting to work on that.
Well, there you go. That seems interesting. Who gets the terrain?
He got the terrain. Mostly the reason he bought two of them was for the terrain.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, I mostly helped him just because I was like, I really wanted the Enforcers, so I just took him off his hands because, yeah, I'm a good friend.
Yeah, that's you are. See, I was thinking about getting two box sets as well, but then I saw the price and I was like, yikes. And then, I wound up doing the terrain table, Warp Strider terrain table, which I do have a video up this week. I put it up while I built everything and painted it up, and that's on the show. So I figured that was similar. Or actually, when I saw the Necromunda terrain, I was like, I've seen that design before. Ta-da!
Yeah, he really wanted to do like a Zone Mortalis table, and so when they dropped the terrain and the tiles and everything, he went whole hog and bought all the plastic tiles, all the terrain and everything like that. So yeah, he's started working on it, but he'll eventually get it painted.
See, I personally never got into Necromunda. I find it, challenging enough for me to remember what to do in 40K and AOS right now. I think once I get a really good handle on both of those systems, then I can branch out into something else. If not, I'll just get confused by a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, I'm already confused, but, even more so.
Yeah, I wasn't interested in Necromunda until they came out with the Enforcers, which I love the old look of the Judge Dredd models they had for Enforcers, so kind of that's what sold me. And then when they came out with guys with riot shields, that kind of pretty much sealed the deal.
Yeah, of all are they called warbangs or gangs? Of all the gangs, that's what it is. It's that one and Eshin that I think are cool, because I don't know.
Yeah, Clan Escher's that was my other one, Clan Escher, because just there's something seemed fun about painting a ton of girls with like punk rock hairdos.
Right. So I think if I do get into Necromunda, I think if it's not taken in our group already, I'll do Escher. We'll see. One step at a time. All right. So is there anything else in your hobby desk?
No, that's pretty much it. You kind of, today was the day of finishing one project and starting on another.
So you actually finished the Star Drake.
Yes.
That is amazing. How was it like? See, how I would approach it is that I would have to edge highlight every single scale because that way.
Yeah. If probably now I would have taken more time with it, but since I'm painting it in the way I painted all my other Stormcast,
yeah,
it was kind of faster.
That's cool.
But I think if I did it again, I'd probably start probably airbrush the wings more, airbrush the like the glow in the mouth, because the way GW does it is kind of, they have you layered it in with a brush, but it would just be so much easier just to take it, the airbrush, and just kind of slowly build in the glow.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the only it's an interesting model to paint, just because you're having to do both the dragon and then the Stormcast parts. I was kind of let down by the sculpt they had of the Stormcast, because the Lord Celestin is far and away less epic than the Drakesworn Templar sculpt.
Oh, wow.
It really only does with the Drakesworn Slipmark. It's this epic like spear he can hold, this epic axe, epic hammer. The Lord Celestin gets just like the standard kind of storm hammer, like the two-handed hammer.
Yeah.
Or the standard like big sword. And it's just, you're kind of like, this is the Lord Celestin. You would expect him to have like a much, and he's on a Star Drake. You would expect him to have just a much more epic weapon than just a hammer.
Yeah, like a paladin's hammer.
Yeah. Like even like the Lord Celestin on Dracoth, that came in the starter set. That is a much more epic. That was what the type of hero I was expecting him to have, but no, it's kind of just your bog standard. Let me see if I can.
Vandus Hammerhand.
Yeah, so it's just kind of your bog standard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, hammer.
Looks great, man.
Thanks.
Yeah, you did an awesome job on that. That is amazing.
But yeah, it was a fun model to do. Gluing the wings on was kind of a little bit of a nerve-wracking thing, because the wings are so heavy that you have to really hold them in there and wait for the glue to dry, or else their own weight will rip them off.
Wow. Did you pin them or?
No, because I just used plastic glue.
Okay.
Because I didn't feel like I needed to pin them.
Right.
But it's just, I would hold them and thought they were there, but then they would just slowly kind of just, and then it's like, okay, back in there, you.
Right.
And the only other thing is that the way I kind of hate how GW does its, whenever it has a unit that's like in a saddle, you always want to have it kind of sub-assembly.
Yeah.
But they're awful to be put back on post sub-assembly.
Yeah.
And this guy, you pretty much have to jam him on to his saddle.
Oh.
It's just, there's like no, it's not like, I have yet to have a smooth mounting of someone on a saddle, because it is always just a rough process. And especially this guy, because his cloak can sometimes get in the way, so you're kind of to make sure that doesn't get in the way. But you also want to get low enough, because guess what? His feet are a part of the saddle, not a part of him. So if you don't get it down low enough, it doesn't look right. So yeah, so that was that. And then you have to glue them on. And the saddle it's this weird standing saddle, which it connects on his back. and you have to glue it on. And it's just, you're having to hold it there and making sure it's level to the Star Drake and like not level to you, because it was just kind of just like,
wow.
Yeah.
Challenging.
Yep. But he's done, just waiting for his base from Dragonforge to arrive, and then I can put him on there and varnish him, and he'll be good to go, ready to eat some people.
This is what's up in the Warhammer Skull Session. All we're looking for is a smooth mounting.
If there's one thing you can take away from this episode, it's always have a smooth mounting.
Oh yeah, that's right. That'll go far. All right. On my hobby desk, I am finishing up the Land Raider Crusader, and I have 90% done. The person shooting the heavy flamer on the top, his head needs to be mounted on and finished. I have to do an epic beard on that dude and mohawk. and just here bits and bobs. So it's like about 99% done. I will have tutorials on how I did these side markings and how I did the yellow in there, how to easily do that as well. And yeah, this is a super fun build, and there was more than I anticipated because there was a whole bunch of knickknacks and things on the top that you'd have to really pay attention to. And of course, I try to give it my best every time I paint something, so there it is. But you know, in the essence of time, I really want to just plow through this Space Wolves project because I have so much more content for the channel to get on. Plus, I want to be able to use them in my 40K games with my buddies. So you see how they roll. So hopefully that should be done within the next day or two. All right. So that is done, and I started on the Aether Void Pendulum. That's going to be the next project after I finish one. I do a Space Wolves project. I do a Malign Sorcery project, and I keep on bouncing back and forth between those two. Hopefully all the... so this way I can get all the miniatures painted and have just another box done. Because I am definitely going to do a pile of shame video that everybody seems to be doing. I'm going to do that and say, well, for me, it's not a pile of shame. It's all new content. So there you go. It's a pile of new content, which is great.
Your most viewed video, Rob. Rob's pile of shame.
You think so? I don't know. I got 34,000 on a Corvette that I built. Hey, let's beat that number.
Let's have his most viewed video be Rob showing his pile of shame.
Yes. Let it be. So that is it for my hobby progress. I do want to do a quick unboxing right here, right now. Our Patreon, VIP Patreon member, Mike McBroom, also happened to send me this mysterious box. And I need to be able to unbox it here, live, in front of you guys. So I'm going to do that right now.
So this will either become an unbox video or a snuff film.
That's right. I mean, this might be my final broadcast. Who knows?
Yeah.
And if that's the case, since I'm recording this, you're going to have to come over and then publish it. Then I'll have the most views. This is Rob saying goodbye. Well, I mean, everybody in my will.
You did it for the views.
You're going to also have to pick up everything that I put in for you for my will. Then Vince Venturella is going to have to come up and pick some stuff too. All right, let's see what we got in the box. Oh! All right, so first thing. Ooh, holy cannoli, dude. All right, so Mike McBroom has his own painting studio, and he hooked me up with a purity seal, dude.
Nice.
What? That is crazy. So it says here, our honor is your life. Our honor is your life. Let none dispute it. And then drink deep of victory and remember the fallen. And it has a dark angel symbol over there, I guess, on this one. And I don't know what this symbol is here. I don't know. Is it Inquisitor? No, it's not an eye. It's kind of odd. But it's a purity seal. How cool is that? Okay, so that's not all.
You need like about 50 more to just be a regular Marine.
Oh my gosh, a Sky Warrior as they call for the wolves. All right, and he had an artist actually contract this pinup of his painting studio, which is really cool. So he gave me a magnet and a card. That's pretty cool. So I'm gonna ask if he wants to commission. I don't know if he does commissions or not. All right, so what else did he send us here? Oh, it's a whole goodies bag here. Okay, this is live painting tutorials, demos, monument products on Twitch. I guess this is his Twitch right here. And it's Twitch TV /monument _ slow fuse. And I'll put that down here so you can check that out as well. So he has a Twitch too. And all right, so next up. Oh, Pro Acryl Titanium White. Everybody who knows any one of my past videos, how much I absolutely despise painting white. And I do have heavy body acrylics. I have inks. I've ordered from Dick Blick, a painting or an artist company, just so I get special ink from Vallejo, which they don't sell on the Vallejo. They don't sell anywhere else. I got everything ordered. I have a whole bunch of whites. I have like 8 different kinds of whites that I go through, and I hate them all. And he said, this thing is the bomb. And he sent me the Pro Acryl. That's from Creature Caster. All right. What is this? A bottle of thinner. Okay. I'll sniff that later when nobody's looking. I'm kidding.
I think that you need to thin your paints, Rob.
I mean, yeah, I do thin. Oh, well, yeah, I guess. What is this? An Adepticon 18 coaster. So when I profusely drink my coffee, when we do these shows right here, mug's handy. Now I have a coaster to put this on. So that's awesome. I'm going to put that raw there. And there it is. How cool is that from our Patreon supporter? I can't believe I got a purity seal. Patreon supporter.
You could you'll need like a wall of awards or something that you can have behind it.
I think that. Wait, hold on. I wonder if I can. No, that work? What do you think?
You pull it off.
Maybe. I think in my travel case, I'm going to stick this on because it's Velcro. How cool.
It's Velcro too. Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So I can stick it onto my my travel cases. That's so cool. That is so cool. Thank you, Mike McBroom. And thank you for supporting the Miniatures Paintbrush and becoming a Patreon member. If you too would like to become a Patreon member and get a shout out yourself, I'm going to have a link in the description where you can join the Patreon and help us out. Also down in the link in the description, if you'd like to support the channel, if you're not into the monthly payment, you can do a one-off payment there to the PayPal. There's a tip jar over there if interested. No minimal requirement there. And if you don't want to support us in that way, there is a whole bunch of links down below with a whole bunch of products that you can click onto. Disclaimer is that the channel does get a kickback at no additional cost to you if you buy any one of those products linked down below. All right.
Products for your projects.
Products for your the PP up in the house. All right. So those are the ways to support us. But if you don't even want to do any of that, one, we're glad that you came by and hung out with us. And sharing is the kindest thing you can do, because if you share with others, more people join the Legion. All righty. So now, let's get on into any kind of news that's coming out. And I wonder if there is any kind of news coming out today. Wait, there is something, isn't there? Yes, there is.
Yes. So because someone got their hands on the rulebook early, they decided to post a ton of pictures on Imager with their cell phone. And they looked all right, but not ideal. So GW decided to, okay, we're just going to drop the core rules. So GW dropped the core rules.
Boom.
Also in the reveal, they revealed the 2 new terrain pieces for both a new terrain piece for Necrons and a new terrain piece fortification for Marines. We'll probably cover those next week, but it's the
Hammerfell
bunker, which
it's huge.
Looks huge and cool.
Yes.
All
those flamers.
Yeah, so definitely go begin one of those.
Oh yeah.
And I kind of hope there's more weapon options, because I would love like a giant Gatling cannon or something on top of that.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, that looks cool. And then what I'd actually say is more exciting is the Necron pylons.
Right. The convergence of Dominion.
Yes. These look big, and you get a lot of them.
Oh yeah. There's 3 of them I saw.
Yeah, you get if you get 3 of them, and it's just nice that they're finally making Necron terrain.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad when they started doing this for AOS and they started releasing terrain for each faction. It's like they really need to start doing that for 40K, and yet here it is. And I love the way that these pylons are in different states of decay. You get to see like the the metal pieces actually peeking through, slowly going through. So there's three of the same pylons in different set of decays, and I love that. I love variation, and they look amazing, absolutely amazing.
Yeah. So we'll talk about those more in depth because next time, because they, as we said, just dropped today. So we might next week see more rules for them, and who else knows what GW will drop. But I do know that, but also they dropped when the pre-order is going to be. Their pre-order is July 11th for the box. And from what I hear, the box set's going to cost $200.
Yeah, I think effectively 2 orders on pre-order. That means the 25th we're going to see them in stores. I think that's about the timeline. Yep. I am looking totally forward to this. And how much are they saying that the box is going to cost? US dollars.
$200.
$200. Okay, so
$200 US.
There you go. There you go. Alrighty. So there it is, new core rules, and we're gonna have I believe, a show dedicated next week to some of the rules and stuff like that, or we're going to get into the new rules next week's show, totally. So we can review it and have time to go over that. Awesome. Alrighty. So next up, we're gonna talk a little bit about us guys trying to teach you where to start when it comes to 40K and our wonderful hobby. All right, so let's get into, well, first off, the hobby side of things, okay? What are some of the essential tools that if you're starting out this hobby, what would you need to get? So I would start off with a really decent set of clippers, all right? Yeah. That's going to be that. The clippers itself, the ones I use is zircon. And the reason why I do the zircon ones is that when you snip it, it doesn't do it completely flush. It does it a little upwardly. So this way you're not actually snipping off pieces of the model. Then you could always file down the piece to exactly where you want. Adds more control to the pieces that you snip off as well. All right, that's my first thing that I would like to do is get yourself a decent set of snippers or clippers. All righty.
The ones GW sell aren't bad.
Right.
They're expensive, but they're good. For what you get good clippers.
Mm-hmm.
Their old clippers were awful. God awful. They were like Dollar General clippers. But the one thing I say is you want to get hobby clippers. Yep. I know I've seen some people who use like wire cutters and stuff. You don't want wire cutters. You want to get hobby clippers because they will cut a lot better than wire cutters or bolt cutters or something like that.
See, that being said, when it comes to larger pieces that I don't want to use my clippers for, because you can ruin clippers if you, let's say, cut something that is metal using your delicate hobby clippers, you're going to dent the cutting surface of the clipper and it's going to ruin them. So I would have like metal clippers just for your heavy duty stuff. But when it comes to your plastic, definitely the hobby clippers are the way to go. Okay, so once you have the pieces clipped off, another thing that I like to use is a hobby knife. I personally like to use the X-Acto blades. GW also has hobby blades that you can use as well. And I do that for twofold. One, it's really nice to have, well, surgical precision, which basically what you have is a scalpel. And it comes in twofold. I use the reverse end of the hobby knife to scrape off mold lines. So it's like a mold line remover built in. Now they do sell mold line removers separately, but I find one working with the hobby knife. I cut off one side, quickly flip it over to the other side and scrape off the end of it, and it just saves me time personally. So definitely getting yourself a hobby knife would be another essential tool for the hobby.
Yeah, and I would say go with X-Acto or something similar. You can buy them on Amazon. I'd especially say if you're for getting extra blades, buy blades on Amazon. Right. You can get a pack of 100 blades for about $15.
Yep.
And I did that, and I still have a half a pack of blades.
Gotta love it.
And you, because at least in most hobby stores, they only sell packs of 5, and it's like $10 for a pack of 5, and that over time adds up really quickly.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So that I would, and like the I don't know if the blades for the GW ones are proprietary or not. Or if they can take regular X-Acto blades, because most regular normal hobby knives can take any sort of blade.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Really simply, if you do want to put in your blade, all you have to do is unscrew the top and just put your blade in very carefully. These are designed to be one of the sharpest knives in the world, so please be careful with it. I'm sure every one of us has a couple of hobby injuries where we kind of face the blade to ourselves while we were cutting, and then before you know it, the blade is part of you. So.
Yep. Or unless you're like me and have a thimble for your thumb.
He is always prepared.
But yeah, and you'll want to also replace your blade kind of regularly, that it does get dull.
Mm-hmm.
And you may not think it gets dull, but it does get dull. And when you have 100 of them, you feel much more willing to, after every project, chuck the old blade out, get a new one.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed when you're buying them in 5, you're kind of like, I want to see how far I can take this before I feel it necessary to ditch it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I usually do that after a project. I'll just switch the blade itself, because usually I hack and chop. When I say a project, I say, let's say a Land Raider Crusader, where I'm chopping and hacking and prodding. And I use the blade for a lot of things. Since it has such a fine point, sometimes I really need to get to a really small area or a corner of something. I actually use the X-Acto blade very carefully. And sometimes that little tip, it breaks off. So yeah, definitely refresh your knives. Alrighty. So we have ourselves some clippers. We have ourselves a hobby knife. Next thing you're going to need is glue. Let's talk about different kinds of glues you can get. Okay, so you have cement plastic glue. And cement plastic glue, or plastic glue, I used Tamiya's plastic glue set. And what it does is it literally has a chemical reaction within the plastic and melts those two together. Really works well when you're connecting plastic on plastic. Okay. Resin or metal on resin, not at all. Don't want to use that. For that,
it's called plastic glue for a reason.
Absolutely.
It is only good at gluing plastic to plastic.
That's right, cements. Testers also has different kinds. I like to use Tamiya ones. But then you're going to need a second glue, which is your super glue. And I like to use Loctite gel control, especially gel control, because this way, when it's setting, it's a little more pliable. So when you put a piece on, it's more likely to stay in place a little bit more than if you just use regular super glue, where you're going to have to just literally stay there. Unless you have an accelerator. But we're not going to get into accelerators right now because it's not really necessary, although helpful.
Yeah, so I've never used accelerators, but from what I've heard is the problem with accelerators is, yes, it makes the glue dry faster, but it does not make the super glue dry as strong.
Right.
And the one thing I'd say about super glue is that there are some stores where they sell big bottles of super glue. Don't get a big bottle of super glue.
No.
Because it will dry out on you, and then you will have a big bottle of solidified uselessness.
That's right.
Go to either your grocery store or whatever, or Rite Aid or whatever, get either Loctite. I use Gorilla Glue.
Yeah.
And those, it's a small bottle, and you'll think, oh, I'll run out of this in an instant. But it will last you a long time.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Go ahead.
The third glue that I want to talk about is your white glue. I use Elmer's Glue All. And I use Glue All, not the school glue, because it's a little stronger when it comes to the bond. And that works wonders when it comes to your bases, when you want to do like scenic bases, when you want to put some kind of aggregate onto your model and really bring it to life. I almost exclusively use that white glue in order to do that PVA glue.
I would also say white glue is very good for if you want to temporarily glue something. Like say you're wanting to, if you're trying to do subassembly and you want to subassemble this arm, but you want to make sure the guy is holding whatever it is correctly. You can use white glue to glue the arm in, and then either put the other arm in so that you can, and then plastic glue that in there so that you can make sure it's all right. Because white glue is it gives a very nice temporary bond. It will hold it, but it's very easy if you just apply a little bit of force to just snap that off, easy cleanup, bing bang, you're good to do. Also, it's kind of good for masking. If you're wanting to, like, also for subassembly for joints, I would not recommend using it long term, because I've had the issue where if you let it sit for too long, it doesn't pop off as easily. But if it's a project you're working on where you'll work on it within a month, just put a little white glue on the joints, and then after you're done painting, you can just take like a little tip of your knife or little tip of something, and you can just pop all the white glue off, and gives you nice clean connection points.
You know, I did not know that. I actually learned something. Well, thank you, Mason. That's interesting.
But I would not use it to mask anything important.
Yeah.
That's my what, because it's kind of it's not like liquid mask where you can kind of easily get it off. It's kind of this is something where I want to really make sure I get a nice clean connection, which is what I'd recommend white glue for.
I personally hate liquid mask. That's just my personal preference. Did a video on how much you have to watch out for that. I thought it was an excellent masking agent, so what I did was a skeleton, and I put it all in the crevices. I had a nightmare getting that off.
Yeah, it's tricky to work with. I've worked with liquid mask, but I can see where if you put it on a skeleton, it would be a utter pain in the butt to get stuff out of there.
Oh yeah, I spent a good 4 hours on a hex race just to remove that. But let's talk about masking. There's the next thing that you're going to need to get. Silly putty. All right, so let's talk about silly putty a little bit. Silly putty conforms to different rare and unique surfaces, and it does a really good job of masking off an area. One little egg of silly putty will go a long way, but you can get several on sale on Amazon or something like that, and just like really go to town with the silly putty. I have used it countless times, especially with push fit models where I cannot subassembly. That's when I really use a lot of the silly putty for masking.
The reason I got silly putty originally is it's great for doing camo patterns. Is that if you have a vehicle or something you're wanting to do a nice camo pattern on, just put a couple logs over the tank, logs of silly putty over the tank to make those wavy lines, blast it with one of the colors of your camo pattern, then you'd have show whatever's underneath with the silly putty. But it's also great for masking and just covering up. Also, if you're like airbrushing or anything like that, it has millions of uses.
Oh yeah. Okay, so now we have basically the assembly process, and there are so many other products to get into, but if you're just starting out, don't want to overwhelm you, so we're just going to start with the absolute basic stuff that you can get. And if you have any more basic stuff when it comes to building materials, put it down in the links, the comments down below, and then we'll address it as well. And future people looking at this video can refer to your tips down below and get help. All right, so let's talk about painting. Now, this is the area of the hobby where I do love the most personally. It's what you're going to need to get. Well, the first thing you're going to need to do is get yourself 2 sets of brushes. 2 sets? Yes, 2. One of your disposable one of your disposable sets. Disposable sets where you can put them into your metallic paints, then you know they're going to ruin your brushes, and you're fine with that because you bought them 50 at a shot and you got them for pennies on a dollar, so you just get through. You need a one that has a pretty stiff tip in order to manipulate the paint and get it to exactly where you want, so you do have that control. I do like to use one happy brush, and I buy them 50 at a time to be able to do that when it comes to throwaway brushes. All right, for the next set of brushes, you get higher end brushes, and this is when you want to paint like eyes or do small details or panel lining or a little black lining around the miniature, where you want to get a lot of finesse, even when you want to do freehand and you want to be very purposeful when it comes to laying down the paint and being very exact with it. You need something with a nice tip to it. I personally use we have Raphael brushes, and I also use Winsor & Newton's Series 7 brushes. I use one for each one because it doesn't matter really the size of the brush as much as the tip of the brush, and that's where you're going to get the control over. But one seems to be a happy medium where I use with those. Link in the description if you want to pick those up.
Yeah, I would say buy each set of the one happy choice brushes. They come in 1, 0. It's 2, 1, and 0, I think. Mm-hmm. Or no, I think it's 1, 0, and 00. Get all 3 of those packs. You get 50 of each. Use those for pretty much everything starting out.
Yeah.
Like, because you'll use the 00s for highlighting your metallics. You'll use the 1s for kind of doing some of the base work. You'll use the 0s for sort of smaller highlighting and stuff. And then I would get yourself as either a Raphael or a Winsor Newton size 1. Mm-hmm. And just use that for all your edge highlighting, but don't use it for metallics.
Right.
The one thing that you would not think that metallics would ruin your brushes, they do.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And when you're paying $20 for a brush, you don't want to ruin it with metallics.
Right.
It will take a while for it to be ruined by metallics, but it will be ruined by metallics.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So especially if you're someone new starting out, I would say it's like GW has all their sets of brushes, and there's kind of only, I would say, 2. If you're following GW, this is kind of going into the painting guides, but if you're starting painting, there are 2 brushes I would recommend that GW sells, because GW will want you to buy all their brushes. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot, and you don't need all of them, or any, really. But if you're doing some of the GW stuff, the 2 I'd recommend is the GW small shade brush and the GW small dry brush. Because they're 2 brushes that are very good at what their name said, what it says on their name. It's hard to find another brush to kind of go along with that. But all the others, they have base layer brushes, all these other brushes. Don't bother with them. You will overpay. If you just get the one happy choice, when it starts to annoy you, you do not feel bad about chucking it and getting a new one.
Yep.
And then you have your Winsor Newton or Raphael that you'll keep nice for when you need to dot those eyes or paint those teeth or what have you. You'll have that in hand.
That's right. And to maintain those brushes, good brush soap. If you have some brush soap, that's right. There it is. And if you have those of brush preserver, every time you finish using it, just make sure you scrub out the brush, make sure the tip is nice and fine, and then you lay it out, and you'll have those brushes for a very, very long time. I've been using the same Winsor & Newton Series 7 for the last 3 years, even though I have 7 more in reserve for no reason. So Actually, yeah, my Windsor Noon after 3 years, it's starting to wear out, and I think I got at least 100 or maybe a little over 100 miniatures painted with them, big, large, small. So that's pretty decent. Uh, all right, so next up, now that you have your paintbrushes, you would need to get, well, I would say paint, but I'm going to get into that in just a bit. A wet palette. That's what I'm going to talk about. I like to use Masterson's wet palette because $15 and you're ready to go. The one thing about Masterson wet palettes are the paper that comes in there, don't use them. They're made for heavy body acrylics. And unless you're using heavy body acrylics, I tossed mine. What I do get is parchment paper. I like to use Reynolds parchment paper, and it has a grid technology, so I know exactly that it's 3.5 squares wide and 3 squares long, and I just cut out that pattern every single time, and I have a new sheet that I can put into my wet palette. A little secret about wet palettes here, I put in a drop of alcohol in all the water that I put into the wet palette just so it doesn't get that funk that a lot of people complain about when it comes to Masterson wet palettes or wet palettes in general. Also, there's another one, a little more expensive, but Redgrass Games actually puts a really nice wet palette together. So those are the two wet palettes that I would recommend you getting. And the thing about a wet palette is you have your paints, right? And if you put it on any kind of materials, your paint, acrylic paint, the nature of acrylic paint is that it dries quickly. That could be a boon or a bane. Now, if you want your paints to last a little longer while you're working on your project, having that wet palette hydrates the paint, so this way it doesn't dry off as quickly. You'll have it for the working time of your session. 8 days later, I don't know if you should be messing around with that paint right there. But one session, you're there for let's say if you're there and locked in for a full 8 hours, right? You will have that paint there and it'll be workable.
But the caveat would be is do not use metallic paints with your wet palette.
Yes, that's right. Once the metal shards get into the wet palettes, you can't even really visibly see. They're very, very small. It'll remain in your wet palette, and then your future paints or your paint brushes will actually get affected by that the metallic paints, and you'll slowly rue your brushes that way. So yeah, when it comes to metallic paints, I usually have a dry palette and I put it on the side. I add a little bit of slow dry to it, and I add a little bit of ink to it, and then that usually deters it from drying too quickly. But do not put it into your wet palette. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I would also say that the Redgrass Games palette is a little bit more user friendly than the Mastersons, because Redgrass it's kind of pretty much idiot proof because they give you the paper, you don't have to worry about, and they give you a good sponge, so you don't have to worry about getting the right saturation of water to sponge to paper. So as you said, it's a little bit more expensive. You do have the expendables of the paper, but I got 200 sheets of paper when I got mine, I think 3 years ago, and I'm just getting into the 3rd pack of paper.
Wow.
So yes, you spend a little bit more, but it'll last you a while.
Yep. Okay, so now you got yourself all those materials. You're going to need something to paint with. Now, I have a thing of starting out. I personally bought Minotaur. I don't recommend Minotaur for your starting out paint, although it is very inexpensive. A lot of people get Army Painter. I have mixed reviews with Army Painter. I personally don't like them, but I would recommend, for starting out, Vallejo. Vallejo has a very forgiving line. Their inks are amazing. They have packets where they do skin tones. They have packets where you do military vehicles. They have all these kinds of packets, and you can get them at very reasonable prices. So I would definitely hit that Vallejo line. Again, link in the description if you want to see a couple of those there, especially their ink sets. I love working on that. If you never worked with inks before, you got to check that out as well. So that's what I would recommend with that. And from there, you can accent a couple of things with some Citadel models. I like the Citadel reds. I like their yellows. every now and again, a Sotek green is really nice, and you can work it with that. So to begin with, hit Vallejo. I like it so much, I got the rack.
I would say Vallejo. The nice thing about Vallejo is there's a lot of guides out there, like charts that will tell you how to relate GW colors to Vallejo colors. Now, there are not a lot of, some of the newer colors don't have a 1-to-1, but a majority of kind of the big ones do. So if you're finding and also these charts help with, if you find some painting guide, either say Rob's or who knows, and you're like, well, I want to do this technique, but how do I do it in Vallejo colors? Just Google Vallejo, like from that paint to Vallejo conversion chart, and just figure out, it will tell you, oh, this will match this, this will match this, this will match this, and just follow the Vallejo. Great thing about Vallejo is they're all in dropper bottles.
Oh, gotta love dropper bottle technology.
Yeah, dropper bottle technology is the best thing ever, and Vallejo uses the best thing. The one thing that I would say that Citadel, the two things I use now since I've been paying that I keep using from Citadel is their washes are good.
Yes,
because they're much weaker than inks, which is nice to have, just to have that something that you can, if you want to just slightly tint something or do shading, it's nice to have those weaker washes. And I use their dries.
Okay.
Mostly for some of the dry brushing, because it's nice to have if you're doing white, sometimes a lot of the whites I have are super thin, so it's hard to do a good dry brushing on them. They have some nice dry brushing whites that are good to do a dry brush. So I don't use them as much as I used to, but they're one of the nicer paints they have.
Right.
But yeah, Vallejo, excellent range, tons of colors. The only thing I would suggest is when you get Vallejo on Amazon, they sell they're called, I think, nail polish agitator beads.
Okay.
And they're these little metal ball bearings. You can buy a pack of them, like a pack of 100 for like $7. Buy that, and with every Vallejo paint you get, just take 1 or 2 of these, plop them in the bottle. Because the reason for that is Vallejo paints are hard. Most paints in general are hard to mix. Some of them are very hard just by shaking them to mix all the pigment. These help a lot with that. And especially some Vallejo, because I've had, they would not mix together unless I put some of these in there and then gave them a good shake. And then I started getting the color that I was supposed to be getting.
Right.
So I'd recommend that just to save yourself headache down the line. When some of the lighter colors, you try to put them on the palette and you either get clear liquid or this weird, you thought you got some gray, but this looks like a mixture of white and blue. And you're like, what happened? Yeah, that's what happened. You get some agitator beads.
I've seen people actually use this little device to mix up. I think it's a scientific test tube, kind of mix up your agitators, and people saying it's $100 and it is definitely an expense, but it does mix it up very well. So I'm like, maybe if it dropped down 50%, I'll think about it.
Yeah, I saw that too, and I was like, I get that, but I'm not paying $100.
Yeah.
I can do like 30 seconds of shaking to save myself $100.
30 seconds of shaking. That's what we're about here. All right.
We're eventually going to go after dark.
All right. Speaking of a little bit of dry brushing, I like to use makeup brushes. A nice soft brush will do, but I like to use a MAC makeup brush for dry brushing. And dry brushing, for people who don't know what it is that you take your brush here and you wipe it down where it feels like there's absolutely no paint on it. The paint is just pretty much dry. There's paint in there, trust me. And you keep on wiping it down. You take a paper towel and wipe it down even more until you don't even see anything. And then you lightly go over the model, and what it does is catches the higher raised area, looking like as if you highlighted all the areas with that, which is really great. But I do like to use it very gently, and I use a makeup brush in order to do that. So getting yourself a nice dry brush.
Most of him is pretty much all of his skin is dry brushed. So if you want to, the power of dry brushing is all his scales were dry brushed because I'm not edge highlighting all of that.
What?
Rob will do a tutorial in real time of him edge lighting all these scales for you if we get enough on Patreon.
It'll only take about 16 hours straight.
Yeah. Our $100 a month goal for Patreon, if we reach it, Rob will do a live stream of him edge highlighting every scale on his Star Drake.
I didn't necessarily agree to that because I was just told I was going to do it. But you know what? Sure, I would do that. I would have to get a Star Drake first. In order
you don't already have one?
I do not. Like, yeah. I started a new army when it comes to Flesh Eater Courts, and then I had to get everything that's in there. And then like my Stormcast Eternals went to the wayside. I do not have the Star Drake, but I will have to get the Star Drake. So this way I can also suffer with you when it comes to his saddle and everything else. That's so wonderful with that.
Yeah, and you have to figure out whether you want him with big wings or tucked in wings. Because that's the variance, is that you can either have his wings kind of spread out or tucked in.
Come at me, bro. All right. Yep. So, okay. So let's get into decals and setting your decals in. All right. So these two little products called Microset and Microsol. You will thank me if you pick those two up. And what they do is they actually break down the chemical composition of the decal, making more elastic. The elasticity of the actual product conforms to irregular surfaces, mainly Space Marine shoulder pads. That works dreams over. So what you do is you set down the middle of your miniature, and then over it I put in a little bit in there and let it soak in, and then I just stretch the actual decal around slowly, gently, until it actually conforms and sets. And what you get is a painted on look when it comes to essentially a sticker, right? Or water slide or water transfer, as you say. All right. So those two products will definitely save you a ton. And one thing that I lose with my decals that a lot of people, I don't know if they use, is Ultra Matte Varnish from AK Interactive. I put a little bit of that onto there and it really blends and it looks like I painted that on. I know in my Night Titan that I put in Enter for competition, I actually used decals for them, and I used a little bit of that matte varnish and it really blended in with it. It looked like the decals were hand painted as well. And everybody said, I see what you did there and you did it masterfully, so I'm giving you that.
Yeah. So I always found, so GW has a video on their YouTube channel on how to do decals.
Mm-hmm.
The way they do it, you will never get there. If you follow their method, you will never get your decal to look like what it is on the box. If you use Microsol and Microset, you will get your decal to look like it does on the box.
I'm so making a video now.
Microsol and Microset will save you a ton of headache. The one thing I'd say is that it depends on. I know some people just do it straight without. I've always done a gloss coat before I put my decal down.
Mm-hmm.
You can do it straight on the surface. I always use gloss just so I can have that decal have a nice smooth surface to be on. You'll want to make sure with Microsol and Microset, you will think it's not working when you first put it down because it will get kind of wrinkly. But go have a snack or something, and you'll come back, it'll be smooth, it'll be flat, and you'll be like, I didn't paint that on. Why does it look painted on now? It's amazing.
Yeah.
And it works for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all the, like, if you see on the box, there's decal, like on some of the guard tanks and stuff, where you're like, how the heck did they get that symbol to lay flat on the tank? Microsol and Microset.
Yep. Good stuff.
Yeah, if you ever want, if you don't, not 40K, but if you're like wondering how did they get that Army star on the back of a Sherman tank and all those bolt action models, Microsol and Microset.
I have some race cars that are 124 scale. And yeah, Microset's the only way to go.
Yeah.
Yep. Alrighty, so now let's get into, so that's using decals. Let's get into basing materials. Now, there are a wide variety of basing material products out there, and I'm going to say if you want to do it on the cheap, you go over to your backyard, you snap off some branches, you look for different roots. That'll do that. Coconut fibers looks like roots. Gravel, road gravel, finely grit at the end of your driveway or whatnot. If you have a driveway, definitely use that. Go around and go on an adventure picking up material. Tree bark, pine tree bark especially, and you can buy these from your big box stores. You got your Home Depot, your Lowe's or something like that for the gardening section, or any kind of like a nursery that you can do that. Pine tree bark actually looks like rock. You can get that as well. Just make sure if you're using any kind of organic material, some people use spices and stuff like that. If you're going to use any organic material, what I like to do is bake them at about 200 degrees for about 10 minutes and on a cookie sheet. And then it just eliminates any kind of germs or any kind of bacteria that might be on there that might show itself on the miniature later on. If you're using any kind of organic material, you want to make sure that everything is dead before you put it onto there. Finally, you may want to seal it with a varnish after you are done putting your aggregate onto your base. So that's on the cheap. But if you do want to look, there's a tire market where it comes with a tire, a whole bunch of things that you can buy. Worldwide Scenics is one company that puts in a lot of aggregates. There is Luke's APS. He sells a whole bunch of products as well. There's so many different companies that you can use. Even Army Painter has some stuff that is okay. White Metal Games puts out a whole bunch. Like I said, there's a ton of products that you can get there by just looking at, Scenics. Woodland Scenics also does an amazing job. They have a ton of stuff that you can buy as well. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. I also like. I think it's Green Stuff World also has a ton of stuff you can get. So if you want to go on the more expensive side, so GW sells their own custom bases. I think it's their Sector Imperialis bases.
Mm-hmm.
So at first, these are a great deal for certain armies. The reason for that is they only make these bases in certain sizes. And if you end up having a unit that does not have one of those size bases, you either have to make your own, which will still look weird because you'll have all these guys on all these bases that all look good, and then you'll have your other guy who's kind of on this weird hybrid base, or you have to find another company that sells something similar and get that. But their bases are good, and they are cheap for what you get. So there's that. Also, there's a ton of companies that make resin bases.
Secret Weapons comes to mind.
Secret Weapons is a big one.
Yep.
I've gotten all mine from Dragon Forge, mostly because he has a lot of options and he does a lot of different size bases for his range. For me, that's the big thing, because if you want your army to look cohesive, you want to be able to know that when you get bases for what you have and you want to add to it, you're able to get a base in a different size, which is why for like my Eldar, I did his Ancient Ruins, I think, line.
Yeah.
Because great line.
The
thing is, doing resin bases is much more expensive.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Looks great, but definitely a luxury.
Yes. It's a luxury, and you also have to weigh it will cost more, but it also saves you time. Because you don't have to spend time building and crafting your base. you just have it. So it's kind of the constant thing of what you value more, either your money or your time.
Well, it's not only that. Some people actually like the crafting aspect of doing the base. So if that's your thing, have at you. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm not saying that it's like if there's nothing against your kind of it, but that's the trade off.
yeah, yeah.
If you get your hobby enjoyment out of building your bases, great. But if you're kind of like, God, I want cool looking bases, but I don't want to put the time in, maybe resin bases are for you.
Right. That's right. Definitely have some options. Alrighty. I'm trying to think of anything else that is super beginner friendly. You got your paint, you got your clippers, you got your knife. Wait. Okay, so if you do want to save time getting an airbrush, that is an upfront cost, but will pay for itself in the amount of time that you save when trying to get the similar effects by doing it by paintbrush. Now, I know when I started painting minis back in the 90s and I was doing glazing, it took me 3 months to get one mini done with the transitions that were like butter smooth. But it was a lot of glazing, 32 coats on one area of a cape until to get the highlight of one fold. It just took so much time. Now with a cape, I can get it done after masking, I would say 15 minutes. I just saved 3 weeks of my life, just by trying to get transitions. And I did it within literally seconds of the transition. Now, some people say whoa, that's cheating. Well, I mean, if you're painting with your finger painting, and you actually use the tool called a paintbrush, then some people considered that cheating back in the day. But now it's like the technology exists to save you time. Yes, and now don't. Yeah.
Yeah, if using an airbrush is cheating, all the high level painters, Golden Demon, Crystal Brush winners are cheaters. Because do you think that they're going to put their time in it? Like if they're paying an art, like they may put the time and effort for competition, but if they can get the same effect with an airbrush in 30 minutes than they could with 3 hours with a brush, they're saving themselves 2.5 hours to do something that they actually need to use the brush for. So,
yeah. Well, I know a couple of painters. They will hotly disagree with what we're saying right here, and they are paintbrush exclusive painters. And I know a couple, James Wobble, if you ever actually see him use a paintbrush, I think that his technique, get on his Patreon, but if you use his technique, then it's about the same time when it comes to masking and stuff to use it airbrush. But we're talking about one person that I know out of thousands of miniature painters that use the airbrush. So it's like there are exceptions to the rules, and some people
say at least so that's given with just for airbrush in general. The thing it will help you with is one, it'll make you prime the model better.
Oh yeah, that's if nothing else.
Yeah, you will prime your model way better with an airbrush than you will with a rattle can.
Wintertime, humid outside, not the right time, middle of the night, 3 o'clock in the morning, you're available, you could prime your minis.
You will be able to both prime and varnish.
Oh yeah.
Not worrying about with the airbrush. So that already that's like
that alone.
More do you have to worry about it being too like you finished your model, it's looking nice, you varnish it, you go out and it's frosted.
There you go.
And you're like, crap.
Right.
That doesn't happen with the airbrush.
Mm-hmm.
Also, with an airbrush, you can then base coat your model whatever color you want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing a Marine army, with an airbrush, you can easily get all that part of the Marine either yellow or blue or green or what have you. You can get that first base coat down way faster than you can with a brush.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And that alone is worth a lot in the long run.
Right.
not given the whole transitions and all that stuff, that alone it will save you a ton of time. And then the more you get used to it, you'll be able to do other things that you'll realize, oh, this will speed up, this will speed up, this will speed up, and it'll kind of pay for itself.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Now, some people say, "Well, I got an airbrush. Automatically, I'm a golden demon painter." It does not work that way. Like any other tool, like a paintbrush, there's a technique involved, there's finesse involved. You probably mess up a couple of times before you get used to it. I've blundered through it, but I'm going to tell you, ultimately, once you got the hang of it, yes, you're going to have an amazing time at it. It's just going to be an amazing thing for you to save you so much time. Yeah, definitely get yourself an airbrush and flow improver. Yes, flow improver. That'll help you. Definitely.
And with the airbrush, I know some people are worried about breaking it.
Mm.
Every airbrush I've gotten, each company sells basically every single part of that airbrush as a replacement part.
Yeah.
So if you break something on it, you can replace it.
Absolutely.
It may cost a little bit more than you would like. The parts aren't all the same cheapness. Like the replacing a nozzle is much more expensive than saying replacing an O-ring or whatever. But you can replace it, which is the nice thing. Mm-hmm. So if the concern is like, oh, I'll get this airbrush and I'll break it the first day I use it, it's really hard to break an airbrush.
You can clog an airbrush, but even then, after a while, you can unclog the airbrush.
Yeah, like if you clog it, you just either put acetone or something in, like worst case scenario, you fill it, you forget to clean it out, you go to sleep, the paint's dried in it. You just take acetone and put acetone in it, and they'll flush that sucker out.
Now, if someone had the idea of putting quickset concrete in it, yeah, I think that's pretty much one of the few ways you could.
Yeah.
We're talking about paint here, okay?
If you're
miniature painting,
your stuff in your airbrush, that's on you.
Yeah. Ooh, okay.
Yeah, like that. But like pretty much if it's meant to go through an airbrush in general, it will go through it. You can get it cleaned out of the airbrush.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So that's pretty much it. And you have air compressors. Now, if you want to ask what kind of airbrush do you want to get to use, I say the Badger 105 is the AK-47 of airbrushes because you could pretty much put anything through that and it'll reach be fine, except for that quickset concrete I mentioned earlier. But yeah, that'll shoot just about everything. I currently have 4 airbrushes. Sotar 2020 for details. This is my backup brush. I have a Badger Renegade Chrome, and that was for the last 3 years, just about every one of my projects was done with that. I have a CS Plus from Iwata that I picked up, and I have a Harbor and Steinbeck Infinity CR Plus because it has the smallest needle in the world. I want to be able to do eyes with that thing. I don't know. I haven't tried that yet, but I'm still learning how to use all that. So I have 4 airbrushes. Patriot 105 is a great place to start. Iwata CS is an awesome place to start. That's a great airbrush. Yeah. And
that's where I started.
Yeah.
And it's not going to give you like a same precision, but it will do pretty much most of what you ask of it.
Right.
It's a great starting brush. It's durable. I abused this thing so much and it still works.
There you
go. The one thing, and this is the kind of brush you want to get as a starting brush. What you don't want to get is this. The Harder and Steinbeck CS Plus.
No, I have that.
Yeah. Well, if you're starting out, you do not want to get. I would say don't get this.
Oh no. Yeah. No, that's not a starter brush.
Yeah. Even though because there's some people are like, oh, this is the top of the line brush. Well, yes, it's top of the line, but it is. You have to know how the airbrush works and kind of how to take care of it, because this thing requires thin paint. and like all this like you have to take care of it or else you will get annoyed and be like, well, why isn't it shooting? Well, you put unthinned down airbrush paint in it, and that's even too thick for it. So
yeah, thin down everything.
yeah, the one that in addition to flow improver, get airbrush thinner.
Yep, and cleaner.
Yep.
Mike McBroom told me, always do your airbrush cleaner before and after you paint, and you'll never have a clog. I've been trying that theory just now, and I haven't had clog ever since. So, I mean, there's something to it. There's something to it. Alrighty. Airbrushes compressors. The compressors, I like to get the 2-gallon tank one, but that's my personal preference. And every single brand, you can get the Badger one, you can get, when it comes to that tank one, it's the same manufacturer. I think they all come from China, so it doesn't matter the brand name. It's basically all the same with the tank. Get yourself that as long as it has a regulator in it, and you can adjust the pressure on it, and you're good. Connect it on with a hose, and you're good to go. Yep.
The one and on things that you will want to know ahead of hand when you're done airbrushing, if you do get a compressor and one of the things for maintenance is to release the pressure, take off the screw off the knob at the bottom of the tank.
Yeah. What I even do sometimes if you live in a basement is I take a piece of paper towel and stuff it inside the tank to wick the moisture out as well.
Yeah, because surprisingly, moisture will get in there and it will rust the tank.
Oh, yeah.
That's how I lost my first airbrush compressor. Because I did not know that you needed to do that. And when Rob finally told me, oh, yeah, you can do this, a whole lot of rusty water came out the bottom.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and it's just the condensation that occurs because the motor itself is hot and it's close to the tank. If they were separate, if there was a different design, maybe we need to design we should design a better air tank system, make a couple of millions in the hobbies, and save everyone the trouble of rusty tank water. But the thing is that that water will travel up your hose, and before you know it, you're painting your award-winning model you're so proud of, and you're getting yourself in, and before you know it, it goes, and that's all that air that comes and shoots out, all the water that's in the air hose that comes and shoots out all over your model while you're painting. Not a good time. Not a good time at all.
No bueno.
No. Malo. All right. I think that's for the basics. I think that's just about everything you would want to start off with, things to consider when you're getting into the hobby. But once you get these things that we say about it, you're going to have it for the rest of your hobby career. It's not like, oh, this is a lot that I need to get to start the hobby. But once you get it, you have it for life. That's it. You're situated. You can paint every single thing you want with it. Anything in your collection. If you have an army, if you have 10 armies, this will serve you and continuously serve you for years and years and years and years and years to come. So there you go.
Yeah, and with the paint, especially when you're buying a lot of paint, you're like, I'm spending $100 on paint. Oh, why am I doing this? Well, you will run out of more colors, certain colors faster than others.
Yeah.
So it's not like you have to replace every single paint every year.
Right.
You will have to maybe replace one paint every year because that's what you use as the base. But another color that you just use as an edge highlight, you will replace every 3 years.
Right. And if you approach it with a plan, like you're doing ultramarines, right? And there's going to be that blue, and you're going to get that blue color. You're going to get metallic gold or bronze for the shoulder pad to do some of the highlights, and a lighter color blue for the edge highlighting throughout, and maybe a red. Maybe even a green. The thing is you're going to get these base colors. Only buy what you need to start off with to paint the army that you have. So this way you're not overwhelmed by getting an entire set. Unless you're like me who says, oh, wow, I hear this is a great set. Before you know it, I buy the whole set because I have a problem.
I recommend if you're a new player, go online, figure out what color, how you want to paint your army. And go find a tutorial or something that will that says these are the colors I use to paint that scheme.
Right.
And just build a list
Right.
of, look at what you're going to have for your army. You're like, okay, I've covered what colors I'm going to paint the bolter, what colors I'm going to paint the Marines, what colors I'm going to paint their pouches, helmet, lens, all that stuff. And then it's like, okay, I need this to paint the sergeant helm, and this to paint the grenades or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But kind of once you have that, you'll realize that that applies in just different variations across the army. And that you will realize it's like you don't have to come up with a whole new plan for every time you paint it. So it's good to go in with a plan, so you're not having to, you don't get through halfway through a project and you're like, oh crap, I have no paints to paint his cloak.
Right.
Well, now I gotta go to the hobby store and buy more paint to paint his cloak.
Mm-hmm. Yep. General things you may want to consider. Having a well-ventilated area if you're airbrushing helps. Paper towels.
If you're getting a airbrush, get a spray booth.
Yeah. I built mine, but you can make one. Even if the cheapest spray booth you could possibly get is a cardboard box with some kind of ventilation through the back. If you really want to do it on the cheap. But they do sell relatively cheap airbrush booths that you can have, and it's unfoldable, and you can take them with you to certain places. That'll do. One last miscellaneous thing, light. I use studio lights, but when I'm traveling, I use an OTT light, and I really do like the intensity of it. They're using daytime bulbs, so you can get accurate colors. Now, if you're using a colored bulb, like a nice soft white or a yellow bulb, the color that you're actually painting a thing may not be the same thing when you take it outside and say, hey, look, you go to your friend's house and you're like, here are my Marines. Wait, they're not the color I painted them. It's because that'll play tricks on you. So getting daylight bulbs definitely helps you. Having lights. I like a light on each side of me, to the right and to the left, and one overhead. So you have all those three, but definitely light and to the left because it eliminates the shadows, and you can see every area of the model that way. If you really want to get hyper into detail, having the correct lighting definitely helps you. Alrighty, so once you got all that material and you got all that stuff in, some people that are getting to the hobbies, you've already been hobbying, so you have half the stuff, and that's just to jump off into this. But here's the biggest thing. All right, so I got all this stuff. What am I going to paint? What are the armies I'm going to get into? What should I start off with? Well, for me, one of the things I felt with my heart, I said, oh, look at these lore. And wow, check this out, space wolves. I like wolves. And that really just led me off to where I wanted to do. And I started reading the second omnibus for the space wolves right there. So I'm getting through it. Nice little book. And the lore is what drove me in. Use your heart. But if you want to be effective on the gaming table, it's good to have a good understanding what each kind of faction does. And that's what we're going to talk about next. We're going to review some of the start collecting boxes that they have right now. We're going to talk about what they don't have right now in the future wing, especially when you're starting and you're new to 40K.
Yeah. And I want to say this is what you need to be effective on the battlefield. It's more of just not so that you don't feel that you'll get something that you feel like you can play with. That what we're reviewing these boxes, I'm not going to necessarily say that these are going to be competitive boxes. This is just more of whether it's worth your money to get to start here, or whether it's better just to put that $90 to get the individual box sets.
Right.
So we're going to first start off with the start collecting Vanguard Space Marines box, which this is basically a pared down version of the Shadow Spear, the Marine Shadow Spear half of the Shadow Spear box. So you get 1 Lieutenant in Phobos armor, 3 suppressors, 3 eliminators, and 10 infiltrators, with 1 including the Alpha Helix, the Helix Adept, and 1 infiltrator sergeant. Now, I would recommend this box set if it came with the captain and Phobos armor as opposed to the lieutenant. Um, mostly because for me, I want a box set where once you buy it, build it, and paint it, you could play a game with it.
Right.
This you kind of can, but the lieutenant in the Marine Army is more of a support piece than he is like the front like leader guy.
Mm-hmm.
Also, all of these are monopose Marines.
Even in the Start Collecting box?
Yes.
Oh wow!
Because it is the Marine half of Shadowspear.
Right.
So these are all monopose Marines. So you don't really get any customization with them.
Oh wow.
So I would say if you really want to start that like Phobos pattern Marine Army, this is a good place to start. But if you're not into that look, you're getting a lot of stuff that are probably not going to be happy with, and also you can't make your own in any way.
Right. You'll have to do a fair amount of chopping up, and if you're new into the hobby, maybe that's not something you want to do.
Yeah. So it's up in the air. In my opinion, if this is it's kind of, again, go with your heart, but I'd say I would have wished this was the Marine half of Dark Imperium.
Oh yeah.
Because Dark Imperium, you just got Intercessors, which I feel are a much better baseline troop than the Infiltrators. You have any thoughts, Rob?
Well, the thing is that if you have that first starter set, Dark Imperium, and you add this onto it, would it be a nice addition to that set if you bought the starter set?
It'd be an okay addition. You would end up having 3 lieutenants, which you don't really need 3 lieutenants. The Infiltrators would give you another troop choice, which is with another troop, so that helps you filling out that kind of trying to get to that battalion. The Eliminators are good. It's a decent box, but I kind of personally wish they would have done something with Intercessors. Similar to another one that we will get to later, which I think is a much better Primera starter box.
Okay.
That they gave to the Wolves.
A quick question. Okay, so when it comes to lieutenants, now I do Space Wolves, so there's a lot of named characters. Not really lieutenants so much. So what's the difference between a lieutenant and a captain? Like, do you select certain abilities on lieutenants? Do captains or named characters come with their own abilities? What's the difference with that?
So captains will give you a rerolls to 1s to hit within units can reroll 1s to hit within 6 inches of them.
Okay.
Unless they take the Chapter Master command stratagem that changes that stratagem to be that ability to be reroll all misses.
Oh, okay.
Lieutenants allow rerolls of 1 to wound.
Okay.
So they basically, you run them in conjunction, because then the captain gives you rerolls to 1s to hit, the lieutenant gives you rerolls 1s to wound.
So definitely, if you're going to get this box set, invest into a captain.
Yeah, most Marines, you're going to want the captain anyway, just because his aura ability is very powerful. Also, it's very iconic to have a captain leading your army.
So what is every Space Marine chapter has a thing that they're good at. What are these guys good at?
These are the Infiltrators.
Okay.
Well, they're good at starting up the field, kind of in your enemy's face. You have the Eliminators in the back, which are great at taking out characters and like high value like buffing characters. So they're good at taking out lieutenants. And then you have the Suppressors, which are good against light vehicles, heavy infantry, and basically their ability is that if they shoot at a unit and do a wound, that unit cannot fire Overwatch. So they're good at kind of suppressing a unit before it gets charged.
Now with the new rules for 40K, where they're spending a command point to do Overwatch, would this suppress even that? You think?
I'm guessing so. I don't
Wow.
haven't looked into the rules enough to know that they haven't really. I'm assuming there will be an FAQ on or a wording on how that is.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see.
Okay. On a model and aspects, what do you think of these flight stands on the back?
Um, I did not use them. I chopped off their legs, put them on intercessor legs, and had them all standing on the ground because I'm not using those crappy flight stands.
Everybody doesn't like them because they break off quite easily. So beware of those flight stands there. They do sell some third-party stuff. I seen one that actually has like smoke thrusters coming through. I think I'm going to get myself a pack of that when I build this set right here.
I got those smoke thrusters.
Yeah.
They're not for those models.
Oh, okay. Okay.
They're for the interceptors, the ones that have the giant jump packs.
Oh, I see. I see.
Because those are the ones I got for. They may make them now for those models, but when I looked, it was just for the interceptors.
I think when I build mine, I'm going to have like our friend Peter make a terrain base and then hook them onto the base to see if like they are as if they were jumping off of something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just anything is better than the flight fans.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about start collecting Space Marines. Tactical Marines. I would not get in this. I would not recommend or get these.
Yeah, when I started, I got this.
Okay.
Because I got this and Dark Imperium. And the thing is, this is what I kind of envision a start collecting set to look at. You get one box of like the generic line troop, your captain, and some sort of elite or heavy support option. So I would have loved to have seen like a start collecting where it was a captain, 10 intercessors, and a redemptor or something like that.
And this is definitely a balanced set before they came out with the Primaris.
Yeah. But now really the only unit you would ever use now in a Marine army is the veteran dreadnought, the venerable dreadnought.
That's right.
Because you're not going to be using many Marines.
No.
And I would not get many Marines just because eventually they're going to be legends and
right. Unless you do want to pay Legends game, and that's your thing.
If you really want to paint many Marines, the caveat to all of these is if you really want to paint these models,
they're available.
They're available.
Yeah.
But I would pass on this. Just because probably eventually the venerable dreadnought's going to get legend, and the captain's going to get legend.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this is kind of a picture of what I look at and what I think of as like an ideal start collecting box of if you painted this all up, you could field a patrol.
Right. Yeah,
because
that's what it should be.
HQ, you have your troop unit, and then you have an elite. So you could have a fun game, maybe not a balanced game depending on who you're playing, but a game with these units.
And that's exactly what I expect when it comes to buying a start collecting box. You want to open the box, paint up the models, put them on the table, and have fun with them, and it not be completely underpowered or almost unplayable. So this is definitely a good start collecting. You have your captain here. You got your almost like, is that a devastator, like a single devastator?
Yeah, the tactical squads, you could have one heavy weapon, one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so you get your far-reaching firepower with the Venerable Dreadnought, with the twin las cannons. You do have your heavy weapon, and you have your line troop. You have your captain for your buffs. That's what I'm talking about. I don't know what I was going there. And then what is the shield guy? I mean, the flag guy, the banner dude.
He's a sergeant.
Oh, he's a sergeant. Okay. Well, there you go. You got more buffs with him as well. Yeah.
Well, no, he's just the leader of the squad. He doesn't provide buffs.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But yeah, it's just it's a nice kind of if it's a starting collector, I feel like it should provide you with a various sprinkling of what you should expect to get more of. And so HQ, troop, elite, and so this provides it. But I would say don't get it because it's all mini Marines.
They would look great for basing fodder if you're running Chaos Marines, I would say. I do miss the beakies though. Little beak guy right there.
Yeah.
He's fun. All right, so next up I have here, start collecting Blood Angels. What do you think about these tactical marines, or is they're gone to the wayside as well?
It's the same problem with the start collecting Space Marines. It's still tactical marines. It is it's the Predator, which I love the Predator model, but it's still an old model, and it's also a Terminator Captain, which is an old model.
Yeah.
If it was Primaris, I'd say yes, but it's not Primaris, so yeah, I'd give this a pass.
Okay, so Blood Angels, what are their doctrine? What are they good at?
So they're good at They're good at hand-to-hand fighting, and they're kind of good at in the assault phase. The sad thing here is that you don't really see any of their iconic troops, like the I'm forget, but like the I'm blanking on the name. The
black, all black armor dudes.
Yeah.
Death guys.
The Death Company.
Company, that's it.
Death Company.
Yeah.
Things like that, but I wouldn't expect them to start collecting.
Right.
And we don't know if they'll still be a thing come next year. But if this was the old version, if this was start of 8th, I'd say yeah, get this, because who knows how long it will be before we got more Primaris. But now we have so much Primaris, I'm like, it would be like, nah, probably best to pass on this one.
Do you think they're not going to reboot the Death Company in Primaris form?
They might, but I would say if you're a new player starting from here, just stick with Primaris.
Yeah.
So that you don't get disappointed in a year's time when they say, yeah, half your army's is now legends.
Not really that viable.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Oh, this one I remember getting. These are the Space Wolves. You have 3 Thunder Wolf Cavalries, your fast attack option. There you have your Grey Hunters, which you can model into Blood Claws if you want. They do have the sprues for that. And then you have your Captain over here, which is kind of odd because this Captain doesn't entirely come in this set. Now you do have, they have basically an upgrade screw that if you do have a Captain, you could put these parts onto it and then it'll become your Captain. It's weird. It's really weird on this box set. But you do have a Captain there. Again, what Mason said, all these are going to the wayside. They are excellent at one main thing. They have a whole bunch of Wolfie bits. So if you have your Primaris, you can convert them. They have a ton of options that you could put in. You could put the wolf tassels, you could put some fur in, you could put the shoulder pads, which will go well with the Primaris. You can convert them. They have all the decals with it as well. There's standards, there's skulls, there's just a ton of things that you can actually use for your Primaris to wolf them up, because a lot of people are complaining, well, the Primaris aren't wolfy enough. Well, if you have this set, you can use all those bits to wolf them up. And right now, the Thunderwolf Cavalry are pretty much still as viable as they always have been, although I do expect to see a Primaris upgrade in the future, maybe next year.
Yeah, I would say is if you can find this on the cheap, get it for the bits.
Yeah.
But I think it's $90 US.
Is it?
I would not get this just for bits.
No, I wouldn't get it for bits. If you love the Thunderwolf Cavalry, that unit itself is $50. So then it's $40 for all the bits that you would get for everybody else. That's what it would be. So
if you want to do the Thunderwolf Cavalry, that might be worth it.
Yeah.
If you have plans for all the bits.
Right.
But if you're kind of just looking just to get started, I would actually say if you're starting Space Wolves, the next one we're going to do is the best option for starting Space Wolves.
And let's go on to the next one right here, and that is the Primaris Space Wolf box set. Now, this is the same thing as I got when it came to that box set. If I can remember the name of said box set, I'm trying to look for it. And I don't see it. I don't know. I don't have it. There was the one with the cultist as Harold Icepelt, and Yeah, I forgot the name of it. I know I have it here somewhere. It's lurking behind something, but Prophecy of the Wolf? No, that was the one that just came out. The one before that one. Anywho, it's everything that was in that box set is going to be in this box set. And I noticed that GW does that. They'll release a set for a 2-player, and then they'll take one of the half of that box set and make it into the Start Collecting box, which I think is smart.
Yeah, and well, at least with this one, because you get 10 intercessors, you get 3 aggressors, and I think it's the name character, Harold
Ice Pelt.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or as they call it on the website, the Primaris Battle Leader. But they're all multi-part kits. They're all Primaris. You get 2 of the upgrade sprues for Space Wolves. So they have all the Primaris size shoulder pads for both the aggressors and the intercessors. So it's really a great way to start doing Space Wolves.
Really is.
Yeah, and so I would say if you're going to start Space Wolf, this is the best place to start.
Now, these aggressors, they are the multi-part kit, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you can just switch them out. The flamers on there are beastly.
Yeah, so you can do the flamers, you can do the bolt storm gauntlets. Yeah, so this is, and the great thing about with you getting 2 of the upgrade sprues is you will have parts left over to put on your other models. So you will be able to wolfify other units in your army.
Wolfify. How love these guys. Space Wolves are good at getting in your face and beating you up for the most part. So they are hand-to-hand. I don't know which one is more effective at hand-to-hand combat, the Space Wolves or the Blood Angels. What do you think? That's rough.
I would say right now Blood Angels, because +1 to wound and hand-to-hand is huge.
Yeah, but at the end of a fight, we kind of have some ale and talk about our battles. So I think they have the cooler factor.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. All right, next up, let's talk a little bit about Death Watch. And I do like the faction and the lore that every Space Marine chapter sends some people over to the Death Watch to beat up the Xenos attack here. They all are wearing black armor. So the concept of it is very, very cool. You do have if you want to do shoulder pads in just about every faction there is, get yourself a Death Watch army. But the same thing, I think, with the other ones, the Tactical Marines, they're dated. They are dated and they're going to get into Legacy. I have not seen any Primaris versions of this yet.
Yeah, I have to say that of the Tactical Marine kits, the Death Watch has the best looking Tactical Marines.
They're cool.
They're slightly taller than the normal Tactical Marines, and they're just oozing with character.
Yeah.
This is an army where if you want to name every single dude in your army, you can.
Yeah.
Because each guy looks unique. It's the sad thing is it is a Tactical Marine kit that you get with a named character who is also in Tactical Marine size and Watch Captain Artemis, and you do get a Venerable Dreadnought. I really hope we see some Death Watch that are Primaris. Maybe not like just an upgrade kit or something.
Right.
But for right now, if you really like even if you remotely like Death Watch, I would maybe get just because the Tactical Marine models are probably some of the coolest Tactical Marine models. So I would say if you're wanting to do Death Watch and it's those models that are what you're wanting to do, get this box set. But with the caveat as be aware that you may have to those may have to become shelf pieces in the near future.
Yeah. I think if you're starting out, I would wait. I would wait on these. If this is what you wanted to go for, I would hold up. Or I would, if you're adventurous and you're an experienced modeler and want to chop up your Primaris and take the bits and kind of transfer it over very slowly and very painfully, and that is your passion, I'd say go for that. But as a beginner, I'd kind of stay away from it, honestly.
Yeah.
So, what are the Death Watch really good at? Because they have, people hailing from every chapter. Are they good at everything?
Yeah, they're basically special forces Marines.
Okay.
They have a lot of special rules. They have special ammunition. They have these weird mixed units where the unit gets abilities based on what's in it. So you can have a unit that contains a Terminator, a guy on a bike, a guy with a jump pack, and allows them to then be able to deep strike, move and fire heavy weapons without penalty,
Nice.
all this sort of stuff. So they're an elite army. I wouldn't say they're a very elite army because we will get to the very elite armies later. But they're a very surgical army. They're you don't really want to take casualties with them because they don't have the numbers to take them. As I said, they're basically the Green Berets of Marines. So, but also are very cool.
Let's see. Now, time for Chaos Marines, the Dark Angels. I mean, no, I don't. No, actually, Chaos Marines. Let's get into them. Here they go. I have the box set that came in with this one, Shadow Spear, and I do have this set, and I gotta say, heck, a cool set. Period. Absolutely wondrous set to get. I have that cool spider thing in an aesthetic view. You have your really, I guess, two heavy dudes. I don't know. Let's talk about this.
Liberators.
Yeah. Like I have this and I don't know what it does yet. I'm just hoping I could do a Nurgle-eyed version of these things. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, you get the Master Possession, one Venom Clawer, 2 Obliterators, 2 Greater Possessed, and 1 10-man unit of Chaos Marines.
Okay.
This is Chaos half of Shadow Spear, and a great place to start if you're doing Chaos.
Yeah.
The Chaos, even though they're monopose, the Chaos Marines are still in the newer sculpts, which is great. You get the Master Possessions, which is a cool looking HQ unit.
Oh yeah.
The Venom Crawler, you can only get the Venom Crawler in this box set. And I think you can still only get the Obliterators in this box set. And maybe also the Greater Possessed. I'm not sure. But basically everything in this box set is good for your Marine army, your Chaos Marine army. And it's a perfect place to start if you're starting Chaos Marines. And the best thing is that since they're monopose, they're slightly easier to build. So if you're a new player, you don't have to worry about making sure everything is perfectly aligned. You can kind of just it's a lot harder for you to mess it up.
Would I be able to? I'm going to do a Death Guard army, but would I be able to paint these up in the green form and ally them in somehow, or is that just I'm going to get punished for allying them in?
I don't know. The problem is that since I think the Death Guard have their own like line troop, which is Plague Marines,
right?
They'll probably count as that, though you'll probably need to convert them some to make them look a lot Nurgle-y because since the Death Guard have their own kind of, I think they have their own box of Plague Marines.
Yeah.
So you'll need to customize them up, but I don't think there's like really any big difference between Chaos Marines and Plague Marines in general.
Yeah, because I've seen when they released this box set, there was an article on Warhammer Community where they actually had devotees of Nurgle, and it was these Chaos Marines painted in the color scheme of the Death Guard. And they actually used it to add into a Death Guard army. So I want to know if you could still do that in a new edition. I don't know. I have to look into that and see if it will be effective. Because I know that they really want you to stay within the context of your army to get all the benefits of that and not ally things and not have anything soupy. But, when it comes to Death Guard, I want to be able to add my Nurgle into Death Guard and make it coherent. I want to be able to do that. Demons and Nurgle.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see. I don't know. I have that. I have this set. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. So, what are they good at? I'm sorry. I was going to move on.
They're they're like a Marine army, but they're a little bit better at close combat than a regular Marine army.
Okay.
They kind of have a little bit more like tools and stuff. I'm no way an expert. If in the comments, if you're good with Chaos Marines, comment down below about how I'm wrong and you want me off the show. Because if not, I will just keep spouting this nonsense. So if you watchers out there are like, Rob, why the hell do you have this guy on the show? Comment down below. So yeah, it's a Marine army that it's kind of got a little variation on the Marine army. You're quote unquote evil. They're not as specialized as some of the other more like God focused, like Death Guard, Thousand Suns, which we'll get to. But like they're kind of they're Marines, but they lean slightly more to like the warp and hand to hand. That while basic Primaris Marines more rely on shooting.
So you think they have some in the psychic phase? Is there's some shenanigans there, or just your basic chaos army, I guess?
Yeah, they have more shenanigans in the psychic phase.
Okay.
Than what Marines do.
Okay.
And they have a lot more units that kind of either will, as they get hurt, they get better.
Oh yeah.
If they take damage, they may go crazy and kill you. Also, they have some insane ass Forge World options. So, like Dreadnought that has flamers that do mortal wounds, or a transport that eats people.
So wait, a flamer that does mortal wounds and you cannot even protect the kills. It auto hits and does mortal wounds. That's insane.
Yes.
It's a whole bunch of wreck face right there.
Yeah.
Stay away from it and shoot it from afar.
Yeah. So yeah, but that's Forge World.
Yeah.
If you're gonna mess with
not really
models.
Yeah, not really beginner's guide though.
Yeah.
Forge World.
So long story short, this is a good starter set if you're wanting to join the Chaos Legions.
Yeah, and this aesthetic is really, really cool. I might just paint up this set, and who knows what I'll do with it. Maybe I'll make a small campaign warband or something. Maybe I'll get to the spoiler. Who knows? Who knows? That's later down on the road. I just pick up the cool models and paint them and see what happens. All right, let's talk about Rock
Slanesh.
Lobster. I call them Rock Lobsters. I'm just a B-52s fan.
So you get the Exalter Seeker Chariot of Slanesh with 4 claw-armed demonettes. Then you get 5 Seekers of Slanesh and 10 Demonettes of Slanesh. Now, so this is going to be kind of a common theme throughout the Demon Army is pro thing of Demon Army. If you build a Chaos Demon Army, you have an army that can play both an AOS and 40k.
Mm-hmm.
So the one downside, especially if you're doing mono demons, is you will find out that there are not a lot of options when doing a mono demon army. You're pretty much your troop type is, I think the demons or the demonettes are the only troop you have as if you're doing playing Slanesh.
Mm-hmm.
So if you could find it getting boring very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you'll probably need to paint up a lot of models. Because most demon troops, you're running units of possibly 20.
Oh wow! And you get 3 of those, right?
Yeah. So you're going to be painting up a lot of models.
Yeah.
And if you're getting into the 40k, a lot of the Slanesh stuff, because it works for both AOS and 40k, you don't really have any of that sci-fi look in them.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're wanting that, we'll get to, I'll talk about it later, but like Tzangors, they have stuff that make them look more sci-fi.
Yeah, the guns and stuff in there.
The guns and stuff.
Yeah.
These, you're kind of, if you're looking for like weird space fetishist, that's not in this army. It's a good place to start if you're wanting to do Slanesh, but I would say if you're a new player, I would not do demons.
Yeah.
Just because
Limiting yourself.
you're limiting yourself.
Yeah.
And from what I know of demons, the way you either play them as if you're we're not to talk competitively for a second, is that demons really you have to play them like the army has to be built like one of a few ways for it to be good in any way sense of the word.
Right.
And if you try to customize for that in any way, you're just gonna it's gonna be a bad time.
Right.
So I would say if you're looking, say, if you're a new player, avoid demons. If you're a player who's coming back to the game and you already have an army
existing set, yeah,
and you're wanting to start something different and also are interested in AOS, maybe start Slaanesh.
Nice.
Yeah. So next we have the Thousand Suns.
I do have to say one thing here. Slaanesh, I'm not into the sexy aardvark claw people, but what are Slaanesh good at now?
Melee.
Oh, they're melee focused. Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. And that's another thing. Most of the demon armies are melee focused.
Okay.
It's Nurgle. It's melee focused. But if you're Zeech, you also like casting.
Okay. Yeah.
So the Thousand Sunset.
Now, can you put Slaanesh demons with the Thousand Sunset? Is the question.
You can.
Okay. Good. Without penalty?
I believe so.
Okay.
I would have to check with my expert, but
it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with the Thousand Suns, you get Armin.
Yep. Cool floaty dude on disc.
You
That is a cool model.
Yeah. You get 1 unit of 10 Tazangors with 2 of their upgrade packs to give them chainswords and auto pistols. And then get a 1 unit of 10 Rubik Marines. So this is an excellent starter box for doing Thousand Suns. 1, because you'll want Armin. You'll eventually get Magnus, because if you're running Thousand Suns, you're going to eventually have Magnus.
Right.
Or in my friend's case, have 3. Yes, Nick, I don't know why you have 3. But for some reason, Nick does.
I mean, you have the 3 kind of with the shirtless, with the horns, with the other. I don't know. There you go. Yeah. Different styles.
So, but
faces
Armin
of Magnus.
is the good kind of. If you're not going to run Magnus, you'll take Armin. Tazangors are excellent chaff for Thousand Suns. They will. You just run them at the enemy, they will get gunned down, but if they get into close combat, they will do some damage. And the Thousand Suns, it's that great new, I say new, but
a couple of years.
Great Thousand Sun Rubik Marine kit.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Will they ever become primaricized?
Possibly. I don't think so, because I think the plastic Rubik Marine kit is relatively new. Because I remember back when the Rubik Marines was basically you got the metal kind of pharaoh head.
Yeah.
And that's what you put on your Chaos Base Breed, and you're like, okay, there's the Rubik Marine.
I think it's like 3 or 4 years old, these Rubik Marines. I remember when Magnus was released.
Yeah, so I don't think we'll see a Primaricize within maybe in 2 years or so. But still, they're awesome models.
Oh, they are.
The Rubik Marines and the Scarab Occult Terminators are. If I was doing a Chaos Army, I would do Thousand Suns, because those 2 kits are amazing.
I actually had the Zangor and the Rubik Marines. Someone had bought it for me, and I actually converted all into a Blood Bowl team. I just cut off all the weapons and stuff like that, and I actually did Zangors as a Blood Bowl team infantry, and then I did the Rubik Marines, just the heads of the Rubik Marines, and I did some Chaos Marines, Cornite Marines, and then it's switched them off, and then got rid of the weapons on that one, so it looks like a football team. It was a crazy kit bash. It was one of the commissions that I really did, and I had fun painting up Zangors. It was interesting.
Yeah, but yeah, they're the Thousand Sons are good at psychic
Yeah.
and also good at shooting, and also are tough as nails.
Aram, Araman, there was a release on the book as well. So if you want to get the lore, Araman has his own book. Oops. Araman has his own book.
Yeah, so they're great army, fun to paint up.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're one of Thousand Sons, this is an excellent place to start.
Yep. Or if you're like me, you have the remainder of those box sets when you did that conversion, and then all you use it for is for your Space Wolves basing, because they're the enemy of the Space Wolves, and they're all sand inside, and they deserve to get exterminated. Oh, that's just my opinion, though. But then again, I am definitely biased when it comes to that. Alrighty, let's talk about the Nurgles. All right, so we're going to talk about Demons of Nurgles. Can you still use them in 40K?
Yes.
Awesome. I don't want to get penalized for using these guys, because I do have these guys. If I wanted to use for my Death Guard, I could have them on the back. So awesome. Yes.
I believe that there may be certain ones that you can't use that are like specific to AOS.
Okay.
But I'm not. Don't quote me on that.
Okay.
But I think I think pretty much everything in here can be used in both.
Awesome.
Yeah. So you get a Herald of Nurgle, a set of 3 Plague Drones, a set of 3 Nurglings, and a set of 10 Plague Barrels of Nurgle.
Yep.
So it starts you on your path to getting the coveted unit of, like, I think it's like they can have a max unit of 40 Plague Bearers.
Yeah.
So you're on your way there.
Yeah.
With that, you have Nurglings, which you'll probably have a ton of. I'm pretty sure. I think they just work the same way as like Ripper Swarms and Scarab bases for Necrons. They're just an annoying chaff unit, and yeah, and then I think the Plague Drones are fast, but also but are decent in melee. Yeah, so Nurgle Demon Army, they're tough, and I think if their AOS is anything to go off, they pump out a lot of mortal wounds. But other than that, I don't really know much. Would you happen to know more, Rob?
Well, I do know that with Death Guard, having a fast attack unit is really important, because Death Guard actually moves very, very slowly. They're disgustingly resilient, so they can definitely take a beating. But they don't have much in the way of getting into your face. You have your Plague Drone moving up there, and you have these kind of drones moving in there. So you're kind of relying on those fast attack units. So if you are going to get these, it is worth, again, getting that whole Plague Bearer set. You want 40 of these. If you want a massive army, this is well under the way. I would even pick up 2 boxes of this real easy. And you will be able to use just about everything in this box set. It's definitely worth it. It's a really cool box set to get. And you have that ability to play AOS with them as well. So it's just really versatile. I love this kit. It's completely gross if you're into completely gross. If you're not, then stay away from the aesthetic, because you might regurgitate several times while trying to paint blisters and maggots and kind of disgusting things like that. Oh, look, there's some intestines. Reminds me of the Mucinex guys.
Yeah. Or, yeah, that was or the toenail for athlete's foot.
Oh yeah, that's right. All right, so we're gonna get into some Demons of Tzeentch. Again, really good companion for your Thousand Sons army, and definitely pink horrors and all kinds of funky stuff going in there. Not my aesthetic personally, but do you know anything about these?
So the one thing is that with pink horrors, the big thing with like pink horrors that they've changed, that I guess they used to in old editions, but now is that the big like kind of the lore with pink horrors is that if you killed them, they spawn 2 blue horrors.
Blue horrors, yeah.
And if you killed the blue horrors, they spawned a brimstone horror.
Right.
You don't get either the blue horrors or the brimstone horrors in this box set.
Right.
So you're gonna have to get those.
Right. Lots of them too.
Lots of them too.
Mm-hmm.
The flamers of Zeech, I think, are good. I think they do mortal wounds with their flamers,
Mm-hmm.
if I recall correctly.
Mm-hmm.
That they're again another. I don't know that much about them. I haven't really played that many. Seekers, I believe they're the fast attack. I think they're good in melee. Can't really say much more about those. The what's it? The
Screamers.
Burning Chariot of Zeech.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you can customize them. You can have an optional Herald of Zeech on foot or a Herald on that. So it gives you some customization. I think it's a good place to start for Zeech. The Zeech armies I've seen mostly, a lot of them take Exalted Flamers, and you're going to need the Keeper of Secrets.
Yeah. Well, isn't that Slaanesh? Oh no.
Maybe it's not.
The bird guy.
Yeah, the bird guy.
Yeah. The bird guy. You heard it here. This is the official 40K. No, he's not.
Well, Tyrus Fate Weaver is the named one.
Yeah. I forgot. Oh, it'll come to us. It will.
Anyway, so so that's as much as I know about Zeech. The sad thing is that they have some very interesting. I think they have some like cultist models for Zeech.
Uh-huh.
For AOS, or either they came in that or the not Crystal Tower. Is it Crystal Tower?
Blackstone Fortress?
No. No, it's the AOS. Yeah, it's Crystal Tower, I think. Okay. The board game. Yeah, they have interesting cultist models for Zeech in there, but these guys, there's no kind of cultist, god specific cultists, which would be cool for both Zeech and Slaanesh. So again, if you like this aesthetic of weird gibbering monster things, that's what Zeech is. Also, Zeech's main damage comes from the magic phase.
The bird guy is called the Lord of Change. Oh. Yeah. But yeah, fun. I guess. I mean, I was never into Zeech, but hey, if it's your aesthetic, there you go. What are they? They're good at spellcasting, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, Daemons of Khorne. I absolutely abhor this aesthetic, but I love their playstyle.
Yeah. Basically, Khorne is easy. Khorne is you run at the enemy and beat their face in.
There you go. There you go. There's don't mince and meat about that. There you go.
The kind of the next, so the Khorne armies I've faced Khorne a couple of times, and you're going to basically be running a unit of 30 bloodletters.
Mm-hmm.
So hope you like painting bloodletters. And you're going to need a bloodthirster.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, the bloodthirster is now plastic.
Yes.
As opposed to the old resin or metal kits. So, I mean, it's Khorne, I have to say, of the demon armies, is the best army just because its tactics are very simple. Get into close combat.
That's it. And the story.
The downside is that the Khorne aesthetic is pretty much red.
Yeah.
And it does not vary.
No. Well, there's orange red, and then there's deep red, and then there's crimson. But that's no.
And there's not a lot of unique like demons or anything with Khorne. A lot of them are bloodletters or bloodletters or variants on bloodletters.
I mean, you could paint them any color you want. You could have blue demons if you want. That'd be interesting. But what was that model that's like part tank, part dude, and it's like ginormous? Do you know?
Lord of Skulls.
Yeah, I fought against that once. And the more you hit it, the worse it got. You know, more wreck face.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're an interesting army. They're one of the forces where I think would look good mixed in with like a World Eater's force or something. But yeah, if you're starting a mono demon army, this is a good place to start.
It's definitely simple to play.
Yeah,
That's what
it's pretty much just
wreck face.
try to get into close combat.
That's it. All right. Let's move on to the Drukhari Dark Elves for the 40k. All right. I don't know much about them. I do know that they actually help destroy the universe by creating the warp because of their boredom and their fetishes, and they're freaky.
Well, they kind of so basically it was they and the Eldar were one people, and they got bored, and their kind of lust created Slanesh, and so the two offshoots, the Eldari and the Drukhari. The Eldari are trying to just escape Slanesh and like avoid it, but eventually just kill it. Drukhari, their method is like, if we just keep fulfilling the fetishes and like doing stuff that pleases Slanesh, she won't take our soul.
Right.
So it's another take of Eldari. This box set, you get the what do you get in here? You get the succubus, a set of 10 witches, a venom, and 3 reavers. Those are excellent models, because the witches are the start of a witch cult. They're part of the witch cult, which I think is like I forget, they have a specific name for them in the lore. But yeah, they're a troop unit. You have the succubus, which is a HQ. You have the reavers, which are a fast attack, and then you have the venom, which is a transport. All these models you will need if you're doing Drukhari. All of them are excellently sculpted, look cool, and kind of fit that hit and run, fast attack aesthetic that you will get with Drukhari.
Yeah. And then are they like Eldari, where they're glass cannons that they don't have a lot of defense, but they hit really, really hard?
Yes, they're like glass cannon. They're like Eldari, where they're the glass cannons. They're probably a little bit more glass cannon-y.
Okay.
And they require a lot more finesse. Like you have to put some thinking in what you do with them, because some of their stuff is melee focused, and you have to position and all that. They've always been known as kind of they're a very hard army to play. But if you like the aesthetic and like the look of them, this is a great place to start.
I had one more question. Did they create Slanesh, or did they call him forth from Chaos? Because I know in AOS, isn't Slanesh in there too?
Yeah, they created him.
So AOS is in the future?
Yes. Or I don't like the.
My brain just erupted. Really?
The way Slanesh was created in 40k is that the Eldar race basically got so like into like the fetishes and kind of pleasing and pleasure that they eventually created Slanesh.
Wow.
And then because of that, then Slanesh decided to start eating all their souls, and that caused the breakdown of Eldar society. So,
see, I thought Slanesh already existed. They just called her from the warp.
No,
they created.
They created it.
Well, it could be that 40k and AOS are completely different universes. I mean, it could be that. It could be that. It doesn't have to be passive presence on the same timeline.
But it's Slanesh is why some people think that the Emperor is actually a god. Because the way Slanesh was created is people worshipped pleasure so much that she became a god.
Right.
So people are thinking, well, since everyone worships the Emperor,
he became
a god.
Right.
So,
even though he explicitly say, "Do not worship me. I am not a god." Stop that. Stop it. Stop it. Adeptus sororitas. Stop it. No. Ecclesiarchy. Get out of here. All right. Next up.
The Gene Stealer Cult.
The Gene Stealer Cult, some of the coolest models. The releases are absolutely insanely awesome. That buggy is so cool. I love the new models for the Gene Stealer Cults, although I'm never going to paint them up. Partly because I sold my half to our buddy Scott, and if I kept the half, then I'd consider it. But since I don't have it, so no.
Yep. So in this box set, you get Acolyte Icon Ward, 5 Acolyte hybrids, 10 Neophytes hybrids, and 1 Achilles Ridge Runner. Ridge Runner. So the one complaint I'd have about this kit is that I'm pretty sure the Icon Ward is just a kind of a support leader.
Okay.
And I would have liked to see one of like their it's whatever the cult leader's name is. It has a specific name that I'm blanking on, but I'd like to have seen like that be the HQ they included in this. But other than that, this is a great place to start for Gene Stealer Cult. You get the iconic Achilles Ridge Runner vehicle. You get the Neophyte hybrids, which just ooze character, and you get the Acolyte hybrids, which again are just they look further along the stage, and I believe yes, you do get the guy who is holding a detonator, looking like he's about to press the button.
I love that. Yeah. Yeah, I love the bikes too. They just have such a great aesthetic, and these are just these are the the preamble to the Tyranids coming in. So what happened with the Gene Stealers is that they're a little bit infected with the Tyranid kind of strand, which mutates them, and they have become a cult, and they worship the Gene Stealers, and they're preparing the world to getting taken over and becoming biomass. And it's so weird because you can actually get that taint by the water or something else. So regular humans can be serving in the Gene Stealer cults, and they have like this underground society where people are mutated so they stay out of the light. But people who are not even showing the effects of this are out in the day. It could be you or me in like political positions and stuff like that, trying to undermine the entire planet, weakening them up for the Tyranid invasion. And there's all that intrigue that comes with the Gene Stealer, which makes them so cool.
Yep, and they can also take some guard vehicles and guard units in there.
Can they still? Because I heard that's like a no-no now, or starting to be like you can't really ally pings in. I don't know if that's... I've heard things.
Okay, well...
They should.
Like, I mean, I would say they should not be able to take, if you're taking the Gene Stealer cult, it should be like this, where it's all the kind of the workers and stuff of the planet who have been corrupted, and their vehicles are all made of like stuff they've pilfered from the work site and put guns on.
Yeah.
Because I like that look more than that. Just makes more of the... I like that look because it gives that more of that uprising kind of look than like the guard stuff does.
Yeah, it's more relatable too. Your average Joe became a cultist and got brainwashed by drinking some of the DNA or eating some of the DNA that was in the chicken that drank the water that was infected, or something like that. So I think this wonderful aesthetic.
Yeah. And so Gene Stealer Cult are very much an ambush faction.
Okay.
They have a lot of stuff that allows them to play in deep strike, ambush from the rear. You can ally in Tyranids with them.
Nice.
The one unit that you're probably going to just want to take with them is Gene Stealers.
Mm-hmm.
And the other Tyranid models, kind of, you don't really need them in here.
Everybody needs a Carnifex.
Yeah. But yeah, this is cool. This is a good starting place.
Yeah.
So next is the Start Collecting Tau Empire.
Oh, I do have this box set and have not touched it, but Definitely a shooting army here. You got all these shield drones, which you're going to need. The object is having these things as a fence around your more valuable units, so they can get like blown off the table, and your prized units will have another round, so they can shoot and blast you off the table. Tau in itself are not good at hand-to-hand combat, so everything focuses in on their shooting. And I heard that the Tau specifically gets to keep their Overwatch. Oh. So that's amazing. That was one of the things that we were kind of worried about for a lot of Tau players, saying, oh no, they're not going to get their Overwatch. They're done as an army. Nope, they still got it. So, Tau Empire has an ethereal and a hover drone. It has 3 XV8 Crisis battle suits, which you can kit out in different ways. And you have a 10-man Fire Warriors team, including 2 drones and a DS8 support turret. Those things are really cute. Reminds me of R2D2. I love those things. Still don't have any idea how I'm going to paint my Tau or the color scheme. I might just do white because white is challenging.
Yeah, I actually did my old Tau in a similar color scheme to those. Got the white with red.
Yeah.
Way back when, just because I love Tau in white.
Yeah, they look so cool. I don't like they used to have an aesthetic that they were brown or tannish, and I'm like, I don't like that set.
Yeah, I like the white. I like this, the white and red, and then also I like there's another one where it's white and teal.
Yeah.
That looks cool.
And then the Commander Farsight are all red. Their faction. So, and I have him too from Forge World.
But yeah, Tau's another army where if you're a new player, it's very easy. You just shoot stuff.
Yep.
And to build your army, you just get more stuff that shoots.
Pew, pew, pew.
So you get the classic Tau Fire Warrior gunline unit. Mm-hmm. You will also need battle suits. So get a unit of those. I don't know how good the ethereal is. He'll be nice to have. I know a lot from at least most from what I know of Tau. Mm-hmm. A lot of people take the HQ battle suit. So that would be the next thing to purchase. But yeah, Tau is just a really nice army, and if you just want to just shoot stuff to pieces.
And I picked up that Tau Commander, the girl that just came out. That looks so cool. So
Shadow Sun?
Yeah, I had to get her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also Tau has some really cool units. Their transport's one of my favorite transports in the game.
Oh yeah.
Some of their heavy support options, like the Riptide and the Storm Surge, are just some awesome looking big pieces that if you want giant stompy robots, those are some giant stompy robots.
Absolutely. The anime kind of aesthetic is your thing. This has you covered.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And they're one of the quote unquote good guys as far as good is concerned. They actually considered everybody as an individual and that every life has worth. That's really rare in the Grimdark. So,
well, they think every life has worth, but if you don't join them, they will chemically castrate your planet so you can't reproduce and just die off.
Right, because then you're going to be a threat longer down the road, so might as well just do some preemptive medicine right here and say, we'll let you live, but this is the only life there is. You're pretty much done. Nice try. But as good gets in the Grimdark, I would think.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Shooty.
Next is the Adeptus Mechanicus.
All right. Their recent range has been outrageous.
Yeah, and I think this is the new box set.
It is.
Old box set was, but this new box set, you get the Tex Priest Engine Seer, 1 unit of 10 Scutari, and 1 Scorpius Dune Rider or Disintegrator. So the Dune Rider Disintegrator is their new kind of Higgins boat APC that you can then also take as a tank.
Uh-huh. And
I love that model.
Yeah, it's cool.
It looks awesome.
Yeah, it does.
I love the little door gunners it has. It's cool.
It is. The entire aesthetic.
Yeah, and just the Adeptus Mechanicus in general has just some amazing units
Mm-hmm.
that just look awesome. The only downside I'd have to say is that as of recently, and as far as I can tell, they're not that competitive.
Mm-hmm.
So they're kind of a little bit on the weaker side,
Mm-hmm.
but you can still make a pretty decent force with them. And you have just a ton of cool options to play with because you have the Skeleton robots. So if you want to have an army of like 60s robots fighting for you, you got that. They pair well with knights, and yeah, they're an interesting army because of the way their big thing is they have canticles that they chant that will give them various buffs throughout the battle.
Mm-hmm.
That can either be random or chosen, and if you chose them, you can't use them again. But that the canticles are one of the reasons. The problem with that is because of the canticles that give them the buffs. Every mechanics army usually takes call.
Yeah,
because call lets you roll twice, and I think either raise or lower one of the results and pick.
Mm-hmm.
But then that also means you're taking Mars as your Forge World.
Right.
So pretty much every mechanics army so far is running Mars with call. And so there's really sort of a similar, like most mechanics armies are the same.
Yeah. And the cool thing about Mechanicus is they're human, if you want to say that. They live on Mars. They put out a lot of different cool weaponry for the Imperium, and they think that the machine is actually more efficient, more pure than the actual flesh. Flesh will die off, machine will last just about forever, so they kind of enhance themselves to be robots, taking off pieces of their body and replacing them for all kind of mechanical pieces and stuff like that, making them more resilient, and they can live in different kind of environments and things like that. So I think it's really cool aesthetic, and I would love to see these guys play against Necrons, because it's like robot on robot action. Make it happen.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and they have that great. They have a very kind of steampunky look about them,
mm-hmm.
and some of their other units kind of have like a World War I kind of.
Well, more like a Da Vinci, right, with the flying apparatuses and stuff like that. Really cool.
Yeah, they have a lot of their weapons have like wooden rifle stocks.
I love it.
And they have mechanical horses and. They have one of their units is just they ride on kind of like giant chickens with lances.
Yep.
They're really cool.
Yeah, totally cool army to get. All right, let's talk about your orcs. Now I got Prophecy of the Wolf, so I have the beginnings of a small little orc warband thingy.
So. If I was a new player, I would say I would tell a new player, don't do orcs.
Yeah, avoid it like the plague. A lot of shenanigans, a lot of rules, except this will work only if this works. This will trigger if this happens, and there's a lot to remember.
Well, I would just say if you're a new player, if you're planning on doing an orc army, you are committing yourself to painting at least 100 models minimum.
Yeah, that's a small force.
Yeah, that's me being generous.
Yeah.
you are looking at a very tall painting order with orcs.
Well, I think when it comes to orc armies, you're prepared to do this for the next 10 years of your life and nothing else. This is your passion.
Yeah. And so if you're just starting and you're wanting to get a game in, wanting to get your force on the tabletop fully painted, you are not going to see that happen for a while.
Yeah.
Also, with this box, and you can see in this picture, there is a big model difference between the orc boys on the right and the knobs on the left. You can see that there's a vastly different in their sculpt and style.
Oh yeah.
And so if you're running orcs, you're gonna be painting a lot of those boys,
Mm-hmm.
which were given how GW updates their range, those models might be updated in the next year.
Right.
So you'd be pretty bad if you painted 100 of those just to have a new model that looks amazing drop afterwards.
Yeah.
So I would pass on this.
Now the Death Dread back there looks pretty awesome though.
Yeah, the Death Dread looks awesome.
Yeah,
the new
yeah.
knobs look awesome. The Pain
In
Boy
the
looks
Pain Boy. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But if you're a new player, just
Yeah.
if you really want to do orcs, you can do orcs, but just be aware you're getting yourself into of the two armies we're going to cover. The two armies that of all the armies, there's two I would say do not do, and orcs is one of them.
Yeah.
Just for the amount of models you are going to have to put together and paint, and just to get a low end force.
I would say this would be your 5th army that you build, and you have nothing else, and you do not have a pile of shame because you finished painting them all because you're just that quick of a painter. Yeah, this is for you.
Yeah, if you have nothing, else, and you're not like in a time to get stuff painted for the table or anything, yes,
no pressure. But really cool models, and you get to go whoa at tournaments. Astra Militarum, talking about having a lot of models. Here we go.
Yeah, so Guard is kind of, for me at least, they are not as bad as orcs or nids, but they will definitely have a higher model count than most other armies on the field.
Yeah.
But the thing with that is that you're not looking at where nids and orcs, you're looking at possibly doing 150 models or more.
Right.
Just to do your force. Guard, you're maybe having to do 60 to 70, maybe 80. So it's up there, but it's not like insane.
Right.
Not how like at the start of 8th edition, people were running 250-man units of conscripts. Which, so, but that's, but so you're looking at, you're probably going to do at least 6 10-man squads of guard, of base guardsmen, and then whatever else. So you have at least that going for you. You're not having to look at like, I have to do 6 units of 20 boys or what have you.
Yeah.
But guard is like Tau in that they're a very shooting army. But where Tau is precision, guard is numbers.
Right. Throw enough dice at something, it's gonna hit.
Yeah. The guard is like, we will throw enough shots at it until it dies.
Yeah.
Hopefully. And basically guard are, if you like that modern military look, that's the guard.
Right.
The guard is all got modern looking tanks, like not modern, but like that World War II look.
Yeah.
They have flyers, one of the coolest flyers in the game. They have a ton of tanks. If you love tanks, play guard.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And of course the one that's in the back is aptly named the toughest Primarch in the universe, Lehman Russ.
Yep. And Guard are one of the only factions that have access to a plastic super heavy.
The Baneblade.
So if you want to take the Baneblade, they're the faction for you.
Yeah.
And this is a decent starter set. It's a little weird in some of the. So the Lehman Russ, always you'll want a Lehman Russ. And the 10 Canadian shock troops, those are good.
Yeah.
The weird thing is so the Canadian heavy weapon, the heavy weapon squad, most heavy weapons you take are going to be in units of 3. So for the heavy weapons option of heavy weapons squad for the guard. So this is probably a heavy weapon meant for the 10-man guard squad.
Mm.
So you're going to have 2 guard left over somewhat. Either you're going to take 2 guard out of the 10-man squad,
Right.
heavy weapons in, or leave the heavy weapons out.
It's an option thing.
Yeah. And then you have the commissar. You're going to take a commissar, but he's not. You're going to eventually have to. You're going to get the HQ box set,
Right.
which is going to be what you either that or you're going to have the HQ tank.
Have you seen the female commissar? That was pretty cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sabine.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. She was cool. I wish she was plastic though.
I know.
Not a limited release model.
I know. Decal State is not Canadians, it's Cadians.
Cadians.
Yeah.
Big Canadians because it is Canada Day.
It really is.
Yeah.
It
So
really is. I don't want our Canadian
great
viewers.
starter box.
Yeah.
The only thing I'd say is that there is rumors that we're going to see plastic Death Corps of Krieg eventually. So may want to hold out to see what happens on that front.
Right. And that's going to be a troop choice?
Yeah, well, the Death Corps is it's a different version of the Cadians. So that would be pretty dope.
I had a friend who actually ran that, and they had all the resin ones painted up, the Death Guard. Krieg. That's pretty cool. They have these masks on, the gas masks. All right, let's talk about your army here, the Eldar.
Yeah, one of my armies.
One of your armies, that's right.
Yes, the Eldar. So you get a Farseer, 5 Wraith Guard, a Wraith Lord, and a Warwalker.
Pretty good if you don't want to paint eyes. Go ahead.
Yeah. If you don't want to paint eyes.
Yeah.
Or if you... So I want to like this box set, but I can't because the old one was better in that it gave you Guardians. This does not give you Guardians. This gives you the Wraith Guard, which are an elite choice, the Wraith Lord, which is a heavy support choice, and the Warwalker, which I believe is also a heavy support choice. So you cannot field any detachments with anything in this army. The Wraith Guard are good, but you have to build around them. And you're basically going to take a unit of 10 of them or more. But they're elite, they're a good unit. They're very tough, but they're slow and they want to get in close.
Yeah.
But luckily you have a stratagem that can allow them to just deep strike in. Same with the Wraith Guard. The Wraith Lord, sorry. The Wraith Lord is I think one of the only toughness 8 units in Eldar. So that's nice. The problem is it has no invul save and can be easily shot to pieces. And like all Eldar stuff, it and the Warwalker are glass cannons, but they can have a lot of firepower on them. The Warwalker, you want to run them in a unit of 3, so getting just 1 is kind of, but if it was a start, I wish they would have dropped the Wraith Lord and the Warwalker and given you a unit of 10 Guardians and say a Wave Serpent.
Yeah.
Or something like that, because this is just a lot of everything in this box set is usable by Eldar, but it's not a good way to start your force.
Right. It's good to add to your force, existing one. Yeah. And
even then, if you were I would say if you were going to add to your force, the better buy is the Apocalypse box that they came out for Eldar.
Oh yeah. Because
you get a lot more Wraith Guard in that. You get, I think, 2 Wraith Lords in that, and I think a Wraith Knight. Well, so that's a much better option than this. And The Farseer on foot is okay, but at least for I prefer the Farseer on jet bike just because it allows her to move around faster, so it gets her spells in the right place. She start casting her spells in the right place, and if she needs to go buff a unit, she can zoom over there and buff a unit. But I mean, it's not a bad box. But if I was starting, if you're starting Eldar, I would say pick up probably I'd say a box set of the Guardians, a box set of the Dire Avengers, and the blister of the Farseer on jet bike, and in whatever, like either I'd say either Wraith Guard or like a Fire Prism or something like that would be a good way to start. Yeah. Because this, you can't fill with this, just to even play a game, you have to either get another elite choice or another heavy weapons choice, and you need some troop choice in there.
Right. Well, when it comes to Battle Force boxes and the Apocalypse set boxes, those are just great buys. I love them. I am addicted to those things. Usually when they come out, I'm like, oh, I'll get as many as I possibly can. Alrighty, let's talk about Tyranids. A whole lot of Tyranids. Tyranids coming out your ears and your nose and the ground and everywhere else.
Yeah, so this is the start collecting Tyranids that you will. This is about 1/100th of what your Tyranid army is. You get 8 Gene Stealers.
Yep.
A Broodlord and then a Trigon. So I mentioned before that there are 2 armies that I think new players shouldn't do. This is the second one.
Right.
You are going to need so many Tyranids. Like, you don't understand how many Tyranids you're going to need.
Yeah.
Our friend Brian has a Tyranid army.
Yeah.
We played a 1,500 point game.
Wave after wave after wave.
Even though we had sustained assault,
yeah,
we had each unit had, I think, 1 unit of Hormagaunts and 1 unit of Termagants was 32 models each.
Yeah.
And then 2 units of Gene Stealers, which were 8. I think they were both 18 models each. And that was just 15. So the numbers of Tyranids gets up there. And so you're looking at just 8 Gene Stealers. You're going to need 80 Gene Stealers.
Right. Yeah.
And even though the Broodlord is probably one of the coolest HQ models you can get for that, you're going to need more because you're going to get the Swarm Lord, you're going to get a Hive Tyrant, you're going to get a Hive Tyrant with wings.
That Broodlord is a little top heavy too. So you'd have to weigh it down.
Yeah. But it's just, for a new player, if you're just, it's going to be so many models.
It is. It's almost overwhelming, and you might get defeated by the amount of models that you have to paint.
Yeah, and that's when you're staring down the barrel of just to get 1 unit, you're painting 32 models.
Yeah.
40 models. That can be disheartening.
It can be. Again, another one, if you have your 5th or 6th model, you're already playing the game and you're just like, this is just a side project. And I speed paint to the point where I do not have the backlog. So yeah, this is what you can start with.
Yeah. But Tyranids are a melee army. They're a horde army. But yeah, if you're a new player, I would what I would suggest is go with Cult. And you can sprinkle in some NIDs in there if you like NIDs.
Right.
And if you really like NIDs, you can then go crazy and bury yourself in bugs. But I would not try to start NIDs as my first army.
Right. Yep, me neither. All right. Next up is Military Tempestus.
You want to talk about this one, Rob?
Actually, I know very little about them, to be honest with you. I know the Guard, And I know this is an offshoot of the Guard because I see a Commissar there.
Yeah.
Are they the Commandos or something?
So these are the kind of psi indoctrinated elite guard. They're taken from the Guard.
Okay.
I don't even know if they're taken from the Guard, but they're an elite kind of force trained by the Inquisition.
Oh, okay.
They're brainwashed into being elite troopers, and they're used by the Inquisition to deal with their more dangerous foes.
So is this an Inquisitor force?
Kind of.
Hmm.
It's the lore. It's kind of an Inquisitor force, but it's not like an Inquisitor force. They're like a. I don't know. I don't look into the lore that much, but I know that they're usually are the ones that are called in to kind of deal with some Inquisitor things.
Okay.
But they're basically Guard special forces, to put it shortly, like you said. This one you get a 10-man squad of Scions.
Okay.
Which you can assemble as a 5-man squad and then a 5-man command squad. And then you get the Offo, Prefectus Commissar, and the Torox Prime.
Okay.
Now, I love the Scion models. They are cool.
Yeah.
The problem is that because they're Guard, you'll need a decent amount of them.
Oh, okay. So they suffer from that too.
Well, that wouldn't be a problem. The problem is that the box set only sells them in sets of 5.
Oh, yeah.
So to get a 10-man squad, you have to buy 2 boxes.
Is there any other way you can get them, or just in the box?
Just the boxes.
Oh, that's terrible. Especially because I do not like that vehicle back there.
Yeah. So to get a 10-man squad, you have to buy 2 $35 boxes.
No, thank you.
And so, yeah. But if you really want a cool looking Guard force, this is the way to go.
True.
The thing is that you pretty much don't have any other models that, like, they don't have heavy weapon versions of the Scions. So you don't really have that kind of, you can't have heavy weapon squads or anything like that.
Yeah.
But they're kind of perfect if you want that kind of airborne drop force, or kind of have that elite commando Guard unit.
Can they all deep strike? Is that it?
Yeah, they all can deep strike.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
They all can jump in, but also there is, in I think a Vigilus book, there's a detachment where if you take there's like an airborne detachment where they can jump out of Valkyries with no penalty to there's no risk of them dying when they jump out.
Right.
So
that's cool.
Cool for us, but I would not recommend them for a new player just because they're going to get expensive fast.
Yeah.
But they are cool models. I love their models.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
It makes me miss the old Karsigan models.
Yep. It reminds me of those special forces that have like the green glowing eyes at night, the night vision. That's pretty good. Like a Tom Clancy novel or something.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about the armies that do not have faction focuses. Grey Knights. I love the look of Grey Knights. They're all psychic. They come in. They have to eradicate anybody who sees them because we're using psychic abilities when we're not supposed to, and we are humanity where we don't use that. Right.
Yep. I would love to have seen a starter box for them because I could just easily see it just being like Grandmaster Voldus, a unit of 10 Grey Knights, and then like the armor. I forget what the name is. The Dread Knight.
Oh, the Repentant Engine or something?
No, it's the Dread Knight.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, they don't have a starter box set. I'd say if you're getting started, just get a box of a box of the regular Grey Knights, and then like one of maybe like a box of the Terminators or something.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm surprised they didn't have one, considering the fact that the Death Watch has one,
Hmm.
but maybe we'll see one eventually. Um, Next is General Primaris box set.
Yeah.
Um,
That's weird.
yeah, it's
Well, they already have the start collecting boxes, starter boxes, and stuff like that. So everything you're gonna need is in that, right?
yeah. I was surprised that you don't that a lot of the General Primaris, they're either bundled with another force,
Yeah.
and I was just surprised that there's not one that's just you can just get Primaris.
Yeah. What would it have? Infiltrators?
I would assume it like be kind of like, so like with the new release with the Indominus,
Yeah.
I would expect it just to be kind of like you get like everything in that, but like minus the chaplain
Mm.
and the judicator,
Right.
and that would be your starter the starting set.
Sisters of Battle. I mean, that would be cool if it had a start collecting box.
Yeah, I'm assuming that the reason there isn't one is that the they have that everyone they're waiting for, I guess maybe all the sisters army boxes that they when they release sisters
Yeah.
were out to sell out before they transition over to that.
And that makes sense as a company.
Yeah.
All right. So we have the Towns of the Emperor. I mean, the Custodes.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So definitely an elite force. Made to guard the Emperor. Really, really tanky. And my Bjorn really likes to cut them up like a can opener.
And they probably don't have a box set because they don't really need one.
No, they're super elite.
Yeah, they're so like they're so elite that it's like not even like
It comes with 4 models.
yeah, it's 4 models.
That's it. $90. Yeah, right. Are you serious? Knights. I mean, they do have a codex. Why don't they have? Yeah, they do. They have the Renegade box set, which you get 2 knights for 1. I think that's a good start. Get 2 Renegade box sets when they come out, and there you go. And you get some terrain to boot.
Yeah, it's knights. I would say if you're a new player and you're picking knights,
Well, if you want to have 4 models in there, that be your army.
yeah. Also, if you're starting with other new people,
Yeah.
be prepared to not have them be your friends anymore.
And why is that, sir?
Well, because a knight, unless you build your army prepared to take on knights or just to take on something heavy like a knight in general,
Right.
you're gonna have a bad time, and you're gonna lose, especially if you're doing kind of like with your friends, kind of like your own little escalation league.
Yeah.
They're gonna get pissed when they're like they have their marine half of the Dominus done. And you're like, well, here is my knight. And first turn, I shoot your eradicators off the board.
Goodbye.
And okay, so good game.
Part of me wants to make a Hark Shroud Night Force there. I don't know.
Yeah. So yeah, you can do knights, but it's I get why they don't have a start collecting box, because the start collecting box is you buy a knight.
Yeah, that's it. That is the start collecting box. Death Guard, and at first I was surprised that they didn't come out with a Death Guard start collecting box, but now that they've gotten away from Dark Imperium and that's no longer for sale, I think we're gonna start seeing a Death Guard start collecting box come up soon.
Yeah, I hope we see just the Dark Imperium half of the Death Guard become the start collecting.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, because that's a good place to start with Death Guard.
Oh, definitely. And I could use another Plague Drone. I'd pick it up. Harlequins, one of the most difficult armies to paint up.
Yeah, and probably one of the more I guess more mono, because you have very limited units with Harlequins. Like there's not much variation. It's pretty much just Harlequins. The base troop model, and I think they're all like very monopose.
Yep. Get 3-star collecting of these boxes, and you have your army.
Yeah. Um, if you're a new player and if you're already kind of you're nervous about painting, don't pick Harlequins.
If you want to do the Harlequin pattern,
Yeah, if you
don't
want to do
bring.
the Harlequin pattern, if you look at Harlequins, are like, oh, I love these models. I love how they look at how awesome they're painted.
Yeah.
And you've never picked up a brush before,
Mm.
like go paint Marines for a while, get good at it, and then come back to Harlequins, because Harlequins I can easily see it's not like Nids and Orcs where you're like, oh my god, I have so many to paint.
Yeah.
It's more like, oh my god, how do I do this pattern?
Yeah. It is insane, because at first you think, well, maybe if I had a stencil, and that works fine with vehicles, but when you get into like the actual troop choices and they have all these diamonds with multicolored things, it's like there must be an easy way, but I still haven't found it yet, and it's been 3 years. I'm looking for one. If I come up with an easy way to paint up the Harlequin pattern, I will definitely do a show on it.
And finally, Necrons. This is kind of obvious because Indominus box is coming out.
Right. That is the start collecting box.
Yeah, that is the start. And just looking at the old box, if you can find the old box, pretty much I think everything there is fine except the Warriors, and you just will be prepared for the Warriors to be outdated.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if you can get the new Necron Half of the Dauntless box, that's just better.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd say Necrons are probably one of, if you're interested in Necrons, or if you're interested in other armies, but you're like, I don't know which one's the best one to if I'm starting to paint. Necrons is very forgiving for a starting painter.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of metals, which you don't really have, that are just very easy to blend, and you can kind of, if you spill over it with its metal, it kind of just blends in together, so you don't really have to worry about it. So, and also Necrons, they get back up, so if they die,
reanimation,
they can come back.
There you go. Alrighty, I think we are done with all the factions for 40k, and if you're starting, I'm going to zoom back into the 2 viewer mode. There it is. And if you are starting 40k in this wonderful hobby of ours, you could choose any one of those and have a ball, and especially pick a whole bunch of knights and like wreck face all the time. No, don't.
Just buy the Apocalypse box for knights and just not have friends anymore.
But in knight size, not the Adeptus Titanicus first. But there you go. Well, actually, I do have the Apocalypse box for knights. I gotta get that. I gotta do it.
That was a good buy. That was like probably one of the better ones of the Apocalypse boxes.
Yeah, I got that one, and then the Tau one as well for the Apocalypse box set. So I got a lot of Tau. I just haven't painted it. By the time I get to start painting it, they'll be going out of date and there'll be new models. I'm telling you, this is my luck.
And speaking of Apocalypse boxes, if you want a good Marine starter box,
my gosh,
the Apocalypse Marine box, you will get enough as many intercessors as you need.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's fantastic.
But it is also a good deal for a start collecting, because you get a captain, 40 intercessors, and a redemptor.
Yeah. I have a lot of intercessors because I bought a lot of those big box sets. So I think I have more intercessors than I'll actually use.
Yeah, I think I have 30.
Here's my intercessors army. Oh goodness. Well, there it is. If you wanted to start 40k, I was just wondering how to get in. Now, there's also another way you do it, Tabletop Simulator. You don't have to buy any of the models, but you can see how they play. And then if you like the way that they play, you can then make your decision that way. That's one way to do it. You could proxy a whole bunch of stuff just so you can get a feel of the army if that's your vibe, and then play that on the table. And you have these alternate models and stuff like that. You play a game. He's like, I really like guard because they shoot, and I like the shooty, and I like the tanks and stuff like that, and I like the heavy fire, and I like all that, and that I get a command point every time you use a command point, and every time I use a command point, every time command points, I just get command points. You like to run those things, get your guard or something like that. So yeah, test it out, see if you like the vibe of it. Definitely check out the books if you like the lore of it, because one thing it is, whatever army you paint, eventually you kind of get a little tired of painting the same kind of color scheme over and over again. You might get daunting. So reading the lore of it, getting you that hook. I mean, I'm getting the hook with the Space Wolves right now. I'm getting Space Wolfified up and getting amped about it now, because having these different things, aesthetics, the lore, and how they play. Once you have all three, you don't get tired of it. So
unless you're Eldar and you have no lore books.
Oh, why? There's Audible. There's
no good Eldar lore.
Oh,
I've looked. It's
really.
If you're looking for lore, it's pretty much it is all the good lore is Marine lore.
I do have to say this much. What in the world is that octopus you're working on?
This is my vice I used for drilling barrels.
Everybody has vices, but this is a real vice.
Yeah, I got this. Was made for electronics.
Okay.
So you
look at that thing.
Yeah, so you have all these handles to hold stuff in, but it's got this nice vise that I can then put the part in to hold the part while I drill the gun barrel.
Oh wow! And me, I'll get a Dremel tool and hold it by hand and go. Like, you can go wrong 20 million ways doing that, but just literally.
Yeah,
and then I do this.
I was like, that just is too nerve-wracking for me. I would just.
And then once I drilled the gun barrel going inwards, I drilled a side barrel using the same thing. Yeah, it helped me learn brush control, because if I could steady my hands with that, yeah, a Winsor & Newton Series 7s is no problem. That's hardcore. Don't do that.
That's hardcore, especially if you're start doing assault cannon barrels with that.
No, but I did. I'm going to have a tutorial coming up on how to drill out your gun barrels. That's a public service announcement that I'm going to do for the 40K community and all miniature community, where you use a hand drill for your palm, and you can just drill in your models, and I'll show you how to do that quite simply. And I'm going to do a video on that coming up soon.
Yeah, that's what I use.
Okay, buddy.
Hand drill and attack.
All right, buddy. It's getting to be about that time. I know you want to call it quits soon, so we're going to start wrapping this up. If you have any questions or comments, reach us down below. So some closing thoughts, Mason, on guiding people into 40K.
I hope the new edition brings more people to the hobby. I hope that that people who have been in this hobby for a while are open and welcoming to the new people coming in and are willing to share their knowledge with the new folks. And hopefully the new folks will be receptive to that knowledge and realize that we're just trying to make it so that you don't end up you start your hobby off on the right foot.
Yeah, absolutely. Just want to make an official claim that everybody is included in 40K. Everybody is inclusive. Just come, roll some dice, have some fun, join the community. This is not an exclusive club for some people. Everybody is welcome to have some fun and roll some dice. There you go. Alrighty.
Except you.
That me?
One person. Yeah, you. You watch it. You're not allowed in. Everyone else is, but not you. You know who you are.
Yeah, people who cheat. No, don't cheat. That's evil. Oh my gosh. Alrighty, my closing thoughts is, at first, there may be a lot to think about to getting all in one shot, but get yourself someone who's cool. Go to your local game store. If you see people rolling dice on a table, watch a game, get to know people, have that community. Then you may start a little escalation league where you start off with a small force and you only play the small force and you keep adding to it every single month. So this way you can slow grow your army, learn what each faction does. So it'll be, a fun process. See, I think getting into 40K is not all at once deal. It's more of a journey, and you have to take and enjoy every step and every league of that journey that you take, as far as painting, as far as playing, and as far as just getting a whole bunch of cool friends. I mean people like Mason, which I am honored to have as a friend, and I have so many other people in the community which are absolutely amazing. And I wouldn't have these friends if I didn't start this hobby. And I think it's amazing, a way to meet people and have like these lifelong friends that you never thought you would normally not meet. So I think that's my closing thoughts on that.
I think it's in this current thing, it may not feel quite safe going to a hobby shop at the moment, but go on Facebook, reach out online. Yeah. There are tons of communities out there of people who will like chat with you, talk with you, all that kind of stuff. So even if you can't make it to the game store, just go on Facebook, and there's probably some hobby group for your local area that they'll be more than happy to help you figure out, and maybe even invite you over to their house to show you the game or something. So don't feel like just because you don't feel safe going to the hobby shop, that means you can't get into the hobby.
Right. Absolutely. Alrighty. Well, I want to thank everybody who came in to join us for this chat and watching two idiots talk about 40K. And
remember, if you don't like this episode, remember what it's called. Two idiots talking about starting 40K.
You get what you pay for. Thank everybody for joining in, for watching this premiere, and for spending some time with us. Hit that like button. Hit that like button. This way YouTube will say, hey, I'm going to recommend this video to some other people. We might get some new viewers to our community. Sharing with others the kindest thing you could possibly do to grow the community. And hit that subscribe button if you want to see more content on this channel. And, which I said that slowly. I usually say it really quickly towards the end. If you like this video, like, share, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time on the Miniatures Paintbrush.